traveling the vortex.
Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the vortex and landed at episode number 121. And I do love a toggle switch. Don't you? Actually, I just like the word toggle. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
It's a noun. It's a verb.
It can be anything.
I'm Glenn.
Toggle.
Toggle.
I'm going to name a character in my next screenplay, Toggle.
Toggle.
Ooh, that'd make a good sci-fi
It's
name.
a little like Hoggle from
Labyrinth?
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Actually, fun story. I read this today that it was Toggle, and that for whatever reason they had problems. David Boyd, he's got that weird accent thing, and he couldn't say toggle, so it always came out Hoggle because they drop letters off of everything over there. Crazy Brits. But,
Drop letters off of everything. Are you serious?
yeah. No, I'm totally.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, well, that's like probably the most tremendous bit of serendipity I've ever heard in my life.
Really? Of all the whoppers I've told on the show, that's the one you bit hard on.
Well, I don't know.
The
very well,
Friday
yeah.
night's serendipity enough, and he didn't even know the 19th was the 2-year anniversary of Elizabeth Sladen's passing, and we watched her
The
first
19th
story.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. Boy,
For
that's
Friday Night Who.
a lot of bad
I
things associated
showed up
with
for
the
Friday Night
19th.
Who, and I'm like, did you do that on purpose? He was like, what? Like, today was the 2-year anniversary. He was like, no, I'm all sad.
Yeah, thanks for depressing me right before Friday Night Who.
Got to get back into evening news mode.
Yeah.
You especially, since you're going back to the evening news.
Yes.
This was a rough week for news.
Oof.
Was it? Oh, well, yes.
Real news.
I thought
not-
you meant Doctor Who.
No, not Doctor Who news.
Yeah, no, it was.
Well, you didn't hear? Doctor Who was canceled.
Yeah.
The naysayers had their way. They started screaming really loudly that they hated Moffat, and BBC finally stepped in and said, "You know what? You're right. We're done. We're going to cancel the whole show now. Hope you're happy."
Wait, really?
Toggle.
All right.
Did you guys do anything cool?
Besides watch way too much of the coverage from Monday to Friday, no. Not really.
I feel like I didn't really have a week outside of midnight to 9 a.m. Well, midnight to
You
noon,
didn't
maybe.
have a week outside of midnight.
Both kids watched the end of Hyde with me because I rewatched it again tonight.
The end of it?
Yeah. Well, 'cause they came in from playing outside and plopped down in front of the TV and were glued. And so what happened after that? Mason goes, "Can we watch the next one?" Well, I don't have the next one, but Caitlin goes, "Can we watch the one we're on now?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So we fired up School Reunion because that's where we are with her viewing. And, yeah,
Serendipity.
And Mason glued from start to finish.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the Tin Dog helped.
The
a little
power
bit.
of the Tin Dog.
Yeah.
The Power of the Tin Dog.
So, and then he was asking to watch another one, but we were getting ready to eat dinner. So, anyway, and then Caitlin and I watched Girl in the Fireplace after that, and I think he had gone off and started watching something else, somewhere else. So he didn't watch that one with us. But so, no, thank you.
I did go on and make the mistake of DoctorWhoTV.co.uk had that Heroes of Who, Elizabeth Sladen, a nice little tribute to her. And then I made the mistake of watching the BBC-produced 12-minute video of that
Yeah.
after watching Friday Night Who.
Oh,
Yeah.
you'd have been better served staying over at my house and watching the special
bonus
features on Time Warrior. Do you own Time Warrior?
I don't know.
Then how did we watch
How did
that?
we watch this?
Because his was still in the package.
Mine was still
I
wrapped.
don't own it.
I busted the seal on it Friday.
Maybe I do own it. I'll take a look. Maybe I do own it.
Unless we got it from the library. I don't
maybe-
remember doing that.
I don't remember that.
It was so early in our run.
It was the first one.
Yep.
It was the anniversary of Friday Night. First anniversary. Well, no.
No, it'd be the second.
No. It was April, I don't know, whenever it started. Basically April 1st, but it happened to be, Time Warrior happened to be the first Friday Night Who we ever did. That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't an
Yes.
anniversary at all,
Yes.
but
That wasn't Claus that we did first?
nope. Time
I do not own.
We had to have done it from the library then.
I don't
Weird.
know
Had to
how.
been.
Weird.
Then did you get it in that batch that you got from Salina then?
I don't know.
Is that why maybe it's-
It might have been. I don't know, but it was still sealed. So
Well, we'd already watched it, so you.
Oh, maybe that's why, and I just didn't bother.
Need to open.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if you got it in that batch.
That could have been
stuff you got from it. So.
Could have been. I shot a music video.
How'd that go?
Well, once we finally got it set, we were ready because we had this concept in mind. We were going to do "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles, and so I wanted 4 female band members.
When did you shoot it? Because we hadn't had much sun this week.
Well, yeah. Thanks, Phil. Not Odd Duck, not Doctor. I'm talking the groundhog. No sunshine here. I wanted to do 4 female members of the band and kind of do them doing this stuff, and then do all the fun outside people in the park, sunshine, stuff, intercut between the two, and then reveal that they're all playing Rock Band. And I thought that would be kind of clever. Nobody was available. Nobody wanted to be on camera. All of the women I know are like, yeah, I'll do it. Wait, like, not like as an extra? No, you want me? No, I'm not lip syncing. Seriously? So, we kind of backed off of that, and we had plans to get together with Jake, who's written his own material, has a band, and is a very, very talented guy. And we thought, okay, we'll just do a music video for him. That would be simple. Well, then he wound up getting a paid gig with his dad and had to go work on the day we were supposed to shoot. And he called up and says, "I'm so sorry, man. I know it's supposed to be today." He says, "I might be available at 7." And I'm like, "Dude, if I had a paid gig, I'd bail on you today. So just don't worry about it." So we wound up kind of reverting back to our original idea and got 2 band members together. And they were fantastic. And thank you very much to those ladies. And so we went out and shot it and had some limited sun at Gage Park. And it went well. I'm looking forward to seeing it completed.
You're not editing?
I'm not editing
you
it.
You just shot it.
Brad's going to edit. So.
Oh, okay.
He and I shot it, and he's going to edit.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it then.
And I finished, hopefully, the script for the short film we have to do for class.
Back is not wood.
Yeah, well.
The table's wood.
There's a puzzle on it. Oh, wait, no.
There's not.
I know what you didn't do this week.
Yeah, I ripped apart the puzzle this week. That's what I did.
But yeah, finished the script for the short film that we're supposed to shoot next. So it's been a busy time.
I finished up listening to an audiobook that I was listening to all week. Besides,
I finished my book I was reading.
Oh, what were you reading?
Darth Plagueis.
Oh, that's right.
It is so good.
Is it really?
Oh, it's
one of the ones.
It's probably one of the
high
high on my list of favorite Star Wars books now.
Really?
I don't want to spoil too much. You know how Cloak of Deception's a really good prequel to Phantom Menace?
Yes.
This is even a better prequel to Phantom Menace and to all the prequels.
Really?
It sets everything up so well.
Who wrote it?
James Lucerno, I believe.
Well, everything James writes is phenomenal. He's next to Timothy Zahn. He's probably my favorite Star Wars novel writer.
Matt Stover's way up there for me.
Really? Matt's really, because he has written at least 2 of my favorites.
Shatterpoint?
Shatterpoint.
See, I didn't like Shatterpoint.
That's my high.
And then he novelized.
And then
well, he never liked Sith. I liked his novelization of Sith, but I didn't like Shatterpoint.
He's got quite a few.
Not the X-Wing series. What was the series that with the Yuzon Thong? I can't remember.
Vector Prime? No.
That's it. Yeah, well, that's the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
I think there's a subtitle for all of them. But yeah, he wrote one of those as well that I read.
The Far-Flung New Adventures of the Jedi or something. Yeah, I didn't like Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint was just a little too Apocalypse Now
Star
for
Wars
me.
Kids.
I really like
Let's Kill
Shatterpoint.
Chewbacca.
That's spoilers. Did you hear the news that Disney announced we're going to get a Star Wars movie every year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw
starting in
that.
2015.
They really kind of
pretty much
solidified
said that since the beginning.
because they had kind of said that was the plan. Now they've confirmed.
I mean, we'll get episode 7, and then we'll get a standalone, and then we'll get episode 8.
Which
and then we'll
tells
get a
me they
standalone.
must be further or.
I sure hope so.
It lets me. Well, it gives me some confidence that they've got scripts that are being.
Or at the very least, they've got something plotted out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I get the impression that's already in the works.
Do you realize this? I mean, we're talking 2 years and 2 months from today, basically.
Right, yeah.
This Star Wars film is supposed to be done, and all we've done at this point is announce the director.
1 month.
2 years and 1 month, and all we've done is announce the director.
And the writer.
And the title, Star Wars 7. So, here's hoping. I hope this guy writes faster than I do. So,
I don't know. Joss put Avengers together in a year, although he already had the idea. But
Well, look how quickly they did Iron Man 3, too. Also.
I know what you meant.
Iron Man 32. You mean after the Avengers?
3.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that was already
But
set in the canon
Yeah,
of
I
things that were upcoming.
just seems
so.
like it was bam. We just had Avengers, and now Iron Man 3 is
Well,
coming
but you
out
gotta
2
remember
weeks ago.
Iron Man
Or 2
2
weeks from now.
You
Was how
remember
many
Iron
years
Man
ago?
2 was, several years ago
Yeah.
because Thor and Captain America were in the same year, but Iron Man 2 was the year before that.
That's
So,
true.
Yeah, we've had a gap in there. So.
It's just our focus is on the other movies while they're working on Iron Man 3 in the background.
Right.
That's the difference. But
All
I
right.
definitely recommend Plagueis.
Anything
And
else?
I really hope Lucino writes a Sidious book that predominantly, because part of this goes all the way up to the end and slightly past Phantom Menace. So you see from a completely different angle
Oh,
events
cool.
happening during Phantom Menace.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe
So-
I like Phantom Menace more.
It made me like it a little bit more. It just as Cloak
Cloak
of
of Deception made me like
yeah.
See, I still haven't read
appreciate
that
Phantom
one.
Menace more.
It's, yeah.
I've heard it's good. I haven't watched
Yeah.
it or read it.
And now I want to go back and reread that one because I'm trying to piece the two together
Right.
a little easier. And it's been so long since I read Cloak of Deception.
Right.
But now I want him to write a Sidious book, leading up to either at least up to end of Attack the Clones, or even further.
I want a Dooku book.
There's some of Dooku in this.
I got so in love with Dooku between Labyrinth of Evil and the novelization of Revenge of the Sith.
Labyrinth. I was trying to remember what the lead up to
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith was.
But I is like he's my favorite tragic character in this saga now.
Well, and you kind of see in this, how he gets there.
Cool.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it for any Star Wars fan.
I can't wait for summer to come so I can read.
If you promise not to crack my spine, I'll let you.
I would never crack a spine. I'm not a spine cracker.
It's a paperback.
You sound like a chiropractor. You sound like a not chiropractor.
I'm sorry, am I wearing a wrestling mask? Is my name Bane? I don't crack spines.
Nice.
That was not nice.
Oh, come on.
I liked it.
Don't give him that one. All right. Anything else you guys did this week worthy of mentioning?
I watched the new Doctor Who. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
All right. I've seen it twice now. So,
Oh, you want up on me?
all right. Well, let's move on to news then.
First up, on Friday, they announced the series finale episode title, which will be The Name of the Doctor. And the posters also confirmed that Alex Kingston will be in the story.
Yeah, anyway, we kind of knew that anyway.
We kinda knew
Yeah,
she-
it
yeah.
does confirm it. Does solidify it.
We didn't know
what do
when
you guys
she would
think?
show up.
What do you guys think? I know that it's really struck the ire of a lot of Who fans.
Oh, yes, it
online.
has.
Yeah, if you read the comments online, they're burning the torches are being lit, the
Yeah, they're
pitchforks are
burning
being
effigies
lifted,
already.
and
Yeah.
they're ready to march on City Center, which is too bad because they're not there anymore, and they're going to burn Moffat out of his office because everybody's
Television
upset.
Center, not City
Television Center, thank you. That joke was funny in
Took
my
me
head.
a little while.
But guys, again, relax. The Name of the Doctor. How many episode titles have we had so far just this season that haven't really meant or been at all what?
Well, no, take dinosaurs on a spaceship. I mean,
There were no dinosaurs.
And Journey
yeah,
to
there
the
were.
Center of the TARDIS. We're not going to see the center of the TARDIS.
You can't qualify that one yet. We don't know.
Well, hide.
Why
There
isn't it
was
Journey
one
to the
more.
Heart of the TARDIS, by the way?
I don't know.
We'll talk about that later.
This is Journey to the Center of the Earth. Journey to the Center
Yeah,
of the
I know
TARDIS.
what they're doing there, but it should have been Heart of the TARDIS. Yeah, I don't know yet. I'm speculating.
Yeah. We only know from clips.
So, back to this
Or,
title.
Wedding of River Song.
Yeah, or Asylum of the Daleks.
Let's
oh, wait
Kill
a
Hitler.
minute. Oh, they've all been pretty.
No, I mean,
pretty,
no, they have not.
Yeah.
A lot
Power
of people.
of Three.
The
a lot
Bells
of
of St.
people are
John was
jumping
a
those.
misnomer.
St. John, there you go.
That one was a
Give me
misnomer.
that.
The Rings Octane
oh,
was
wait, no,
well. That was the setting. That really
definitely-
didn't have anything to do with what went
No,
on
but
in the
it was
episode.
but that was in the title, and that one was true. So that was a real title. That wasn't a red herring. That wasn't a doctor's daughter or the doctor's wife or that kind of thing.
Let's Kill Hitler.
Yeah,
Let's Go Hitler is in the same ranks of Rings.
yeah. I mean, they were going to kill Hitler. They just
It's the setup.
they weren't going to kill Hitler.
It's the setup.
Yes, they were.
of
She
the
was going to
episode.
kill Hitler. They weren't going to do anything.
Well,
they
but
were
she
going to
was
stop her
saying,
from
"Hey,
killing
let's
Hitler.
go kill Hitler." So
Just as the Rings and the Bells were the setup for the rest of
Yeah,
everything.
the Bells, I
Let's
think,
Go
is the one
Hitler
that you
is
can-
kind of
Yeah. Anyway,
a setup.
are we going to get his name? No.
Yeah,
we don't know.
I think River will get his name because that has established that has to happen. So we're going to see that. But it's going to be one of those things, just like when just like in Wedding of River Song, when he leaned into her ear and went, and we didn't get to hear what he said. That's what this is going to be.
Because it wasn't his name.
Yeah.
But that was clarified.
That was what everybody said.
Everybody said, "Oh, it's his name. It's his name." No, it wasn't, because at the end of the Wedding River Song, she says it wasn't his name. He told me that, look into my eye. And in fact, I hear him say, "Look in my eye. Look in my eye."
So I don't think we're going to. And realistically, what his name could be Bob. And they would go, "Really? That's your name?" And he'd go, "Why do you think I go by the Doctor? Because Bob's boring." So no offense to any Bob listeners out there.
So we'll learn it's Bob or something simple like that, or you don't think?
I don't think. I mean, what could they possibly, from a storytelling standpoint, what could you possibly give us? You could give us something lame and write it off as a joke, like Bob or Fred, and
which I think is likely with Stephen Moffat.
Write it off as a joke, and that's why he calls himself the Doctor. And then you'd be left with that whole divided fandom between people who took it as gospel that his name is Bob, and people who went, "Oh no, he was not half human either, and we're just going to write this off as he was cracking a joke at everybody's expense." Or it's something unintelligible that can't be pronounced in the English language, and it'll be lame. I mean, it's a no-win scenario. So we're not even going to get it. The name of the episode is the name of the Doctor. That's not going to happen. Other than River learning it, we will not. I will put my. I'm going to say we're going to. I'm going to guarantee it.
I don't think it's so much going to be a lead up to Silence in the Library, because there's a Night in the Doctor for that, where they're going off to have that night.
I never got that. Never got that impression. I never got that impression that was the night before.
From the Night in the Doctor.
Yeah, there was one of the night, because there were 3 nights in the Doctors with River. Like the last one was...
The one in particular, she mentions the place that he's taking me to go see the waterfalls or the whatever it is.
Right.
And that's the place that's their last date.
It's the time in the TARDIS before they go out to that hill where he gives her the sonic screwdriver.
Right. I know which one you're talking about. I didn't get the impression that is where the name is dropped and
no.
And the sonic is given and
it's the scene.
It's just it happens to be their last. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it happens to be their last date.
So I don't think we're going to see that last date in this.
No, but I think we're going to see the events that happen after that last date. That's my point. This episode.
But that's the last time she saw him. Was that last date?
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, because I totally didn't get that. I think
from Silence in the Library. The last time I saw him, we were on a hill. He gave me the sonic. That was the last time she
was
saw
alive with stars.
Yeah, that was the last time.
Blah blah blah. That's what she
says.
There
is no after until Silence of the Library and Forest of the Dead.
Okay. I'll take your word. I didn't get that when we watched it.
When the Night in the Doctor is not the date either. It's we're getting ready to go on that date.
Yeah,
right.
So this could be that date.
It could be set in between.
That's my point. Is that whatever that was that we saw in Night in the Doctor was not the date. So it was just the lead up to it. It was just the lead up to the date.
It was the ride in the car to the date.
Well, it's just it. So I think this will be.
Really? Is it?
It really is.
I think this will be that date.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this will be. I think Stephen Moffat, I think he's clearly going a route with closing that chapter, and that's what has to happen, in my opinion. I think that was the reason why we got the red setting in Cold War, because that's foreshadowing to the fact that because she says in Silence of the Library, we'll use the red setting.
Which one of us complained about it going red? Why did it have to go red?
I think I said I wasn't. I said I wasn't sure why it had to go red.
Yeah, because it was dangerous.
But that until
once I saw the title of this one, I realized, okay, well, that was a bit of a foreshadow. So, although it's the screwdriver she takes into the library does not look anything like this one.
No, it's definitely a 10th Doctor modified.
I think they're going to have to. Fix it. I don't think you can just blow that one off.
It was your father's lightsaber.
No, it wasn't.
I don't think you're going to be able to blow that one off.
Oh wait, we eventually got there.
So I wouldn't put it past Moffat to do it. I think I kind of lean on the side of it'll be he'll continue with the secret, but I would not put it past Moffat to do it, and not in the sense that it'll just be a joke. I see it happening. I wouldn't put it.
The tagline of the episode is his secret revealed.
Not to us.
Maybe the name isn't the secret. Maybe there's another secret that we aren't aware of.
Well, I'll tell you, watching Girl in the Fireplace, there's the line where she says he does the mind meld with her, and he said she starts to go back. He says, "Well, you can walk through the door the other way," because he asks her, "How'd you do that?" But in that course of that, she says something to the effect of, "Your name, it's more than just a secret, isn't it?" She said I'm paraphrasing, but she basically says that. So that was dropped way back by Moffat in Girl in the Fireplace, which tells me how ingenious this man is. This man's so fun. So that's dropped in there. So I should find the quote exactly. But
I wonder what
when I heard it, I kind of perked up and I went,
gotten showrunner.
Wow, that was already.
What if somebody else had gotten
that story would have been a lot longer to tell.
A lot of that would have got dropped.
Instead of the River Song season, we'd be talking about the River Song episode of this season, and I wonder what's going to happen with her next. I hope she comes back again. Alex Kingston will be 90 by the time she gets this damn screwdriver.
But no, I wouldn't put it past him to do it. I mean, it's kind of his deal. And again, I think he's sort of. I think Moffat's about done. I think he's going to hang his coat up here probably after the Christmas special.
He admitted that he was closer to the end than he was the beginning, and with Sherlock kind of being in co-cahoots with who, I can certainly understand, because he's unlike most American showrunners who come along, they invent a show or create a show or executive produce a show, and they're really strong for the first season and a half, and then hand it off so they can go create or invent or executive produce something else, and they just kind of sit back and oversee the first show. Moffat, I think, is very back to back, back and forth on both of these shows.
Well, he writes a lot more episodes than
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams does for any of his shows.
But it's just, I think that's definitely where the wear and tear is coming from.
Oh, I
Let
believe
me back up here and give you guys where it says when they're having the conversation after she's such a lonely boy, lonelier. I can skip that exchange, but she says then first I shall make him jealous, and he says I can't. She says, Doctor who? It's more than just a secret, isn't it? And he says, what did you see? She says, that there comes a time, Time Lord, where every lonely boy must learn how to dance. And then, of course, they go off and have their little party, because then that's when he waltzes into the room and saves Mickey and Rose next. So yeah, so I kind of perked up when I heard that. I was like, wow, that's Moffat's had this.
I wonder how many other drops
there's
there's
for a
been.
while. Well, the only other story prior to this would have been Empty Child and Dr. Dances. So
He has a
dance reference.
He has a
again,
thing
by
about
the way.
dancing.
Yeah, Dr. Dancing.
So, okay, if you're right, and this is the big reveal, and we're going to get it, does this now also coincide with
The fall of the
the
11th.
Fields of Trenzalore? Are we getting to the is the finale of this season going to be the lead up for that in the 50th, or
I think
is this it?
I think it's going to be the Fields of Trenzalore. Now, the fall may not necessarily mean regeneration.
That's just it. I think a lot. I mean, we a lot of people, and us included, put a lot of stock in the fall of the 11th being the regeneration. Maybe that's not what that means, but I don't know. We'll see. I think there's a purposeful reason why Moffat brought Tennant back, other than the fact that it's just really cool to have a multi-doctor story. I think this is a clever way for Moffat to be able to kind of finalize all of these storylines and bring the 10th Doctor back in true 10th Doctor form. I now don't believe it will be Handy. I don't think it'll be 10.5 or 10.2, whatever we call it. I think it will be the 10th Doctor, and I think that we're going to kind of tie up a lot of what Moffat has been peppering for his whole run. Again, I get this. Maybe it's just a gut feeling, but I get this feeling that Moffat's ready to hang his coat up, and that he's wrapping everything up. He's tying up all his storylines, and I think this series, the final episode, and the 50th anniversary is a clever way of him to doing that. Now,
about
that
after
doesn't
the
mean
50th and the 50th focusing on new things,
right? Well, and then that might be it.
So
as well.
even if he sticks on,
But
he's trying to wrap everything.
I see him either leaving with the Christmas episode or staying on for another season to kind of guide things in a different direction. And I quite honestly, I still have a gut feeling that Matt will leave after the Christmas episode as well. I think that's a nice time to bow out for him, especially if he's got other plans.
See, I thought the 50th would be a good time.
Well, I think so too. But I mean, it could be. That could be too.
It could happen.
It could surprise us.
I saw a list online of...
Wouldn't that be the greatest
top
surprise
5
ever?
combinations.
That we all go into the 50th knowing that Matt has signed for the Christmas special and that he's not going anywhere, and then bam, he dies and regenerates. We get a new doctor, and they kept it under wraps, and nobody knew about it. And be like, what? Keith would lose it.
I saw something, a list of, okay, these are the doctor combinations that would be cool to see. Like 10 and Donna, 11 Rose, or 11 Clara, Amy, and Rory. And then one of them was a 10, 11, 12 combination. Where we'd be introduced to 12 as the doctor before we see the regeneration. And then kind of like the
next doctor, if that had actually panned out to be not a fake.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another.
I think that would be a really cool way to do it.
I'm going to sound the spoiler warning here.
That'd be kind of cool.
I'm going to sound the spoiler warning here.
Spoilers
just because
ahead.
It's completely a rumor and speculative, although I think I did see somebody at the BBC quasi-confirmed it. Ninth Doctor will be in the next episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that too.
The Ninth Doctor will be in the next episode.
In Journey to the Center of the Stars?
Yeah.
Really?
No. Now.
Shall we say how?
It is a callback to the
archival footage.
Yeah, the collective hordes of Genghis Khan couldn't get through that. They're going to show him saying that. Couldn't
gotcha.
get through that door, as presumably the wreckage crew gets through the door. So I think it'll be a nice little nod as well there. So maybe we'll get some 9 in this 50th anniversary season.
Just now
We don't know that
realized
way.
the collective hordes of Genghis Khan was probably a callback to Marco Polo. I never put two and two together on that.
Yeah. Suppose it could.
I just assumed it was one of those off-camera adventures that we never saw, but I bet he was referring to Marco Polo. Huh.
Yeah.
Clever boy.
Anyway, one last bit of news that we're just going to mention.
The Doctor Who will be featured at the BBC Proms again.
Woo! Wait, what's a prom?
Murray Gold
That's where you get your
with the London
dress and your
Philharmonic
tux and
Choir
Is
and
that really awkward
BBC.
time?
an ungodly amount of money for being a senior in high school. And
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't go to mine.
really,
Yeah.
I went to
I went to an after prom
I went
party.
to my junior prom, I went to my senior prom, and I went to my girlfriend's senior prom the following year. So I went to 3
The only prom I went to was after I graduated. Just one.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go crash somebody's prom. Just because I've never been. I'm going to go crash Jesse's prom.
Who's the old guy?
What?
He's even wearing a tux. What's that?
Why is he
It'll be
dan-
that tux print shirt is what you'll have on.
Why is he dancing like Travolta?
All right. Well, there's a bit of news there. Feedback.
Wow, this was really not queued up right, was it? Do I need to sing the lyrics, or is this enough just to say, yeah, we know where he's going with this?
I wonder what lyrics came
I
up
want to hear
with.
the lyrics.
I bet the word feedback's in there.
I bet so.
This is going to be just as long as the lead up to the music video was in the 1980s. Not yet. That's later. Didn't remember dance.
It's 1974. Something ghostly's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, the doctor thinks ghost busting's such a lark. You've got feedback, but a letter makes no sound before we read it. You all sweat back as horror hits you right between the ears. Tangents for years, 'cause this is feedback. Feedback time.
I really thought you'd go with Ghostbusters this week.
I'm proud
Totally
you didn't.
thought you were going with
Really?
Ghostbusters this week.
I didn't even think of Ghostbusters, quite honestly.
How could you not think of Ghostbusters?
I didn't go
As
with
soon as Clara
Ghostbusters for the
says
open
it
because
in
I
the
thought it was
episode,
too obvious.
I thought for sure.
I bet I know what feedback will be this week. I was wrong.
I'm proud of you for not going the easy route.
Thanks.
Wow. Okay. Very good. All right.
First up is Andrew.
Andrew.
He writes, just wanted to comment on the nature of the god in the Rings of Akhaten. Of all the podcasts I listened to that reviewed the episode, you were the only ones who thought it was a planet and not the system's sun. I too thought it was the sun, as it looked like a brown dwarf star to me, and the doctor says the pyramid of the Rings of Akhaten. It's a holy site for the sun singers of Akhet. But after hearing your podcast, I went and rewatched the episode on the iPlayer with the audio description on, and it refers to it as a red planet, and the other objects as asteroids in orbit around it. So, you are right.
Hooray!
Part of the problem is that
I had no doubt.
Part of the problem is that we see the asteroid with the pyramid on it. Then we see the doctor point and say, the seven worlds orbiting the same star. All of them sharing a belief that life in the universe originated here, on that planet. But we don't see what he's pointing at. On first viewing, I wrongly assumed it was the pyramid, which was in orbit around Akhaten. Then, they had just shown us was the pyramid, which was in orbit about Akhaten, they had just shown us, but from the audio description it appears it was meant to be what was behind it. So anyway, thanks for clearing that up for me, but it raises a question. If there are 7 worlds in the solar system, how come the Queen of Years says they'll spread all across the system, consuming the 7 worlds? Does that make Akhaten the 8th, which no one lives on, despite them all believing life originated on it? A diagram at the start of the episode would have helped. Also, this new comment box is great. He posted it on our website.
I'll tell you, thanks for the qualification on the planet comment last week.
I'm not going to lie. I think
I went and watched again this week.
It feels good to be right.
I went and watched Akhaten again earlier this week, and because I like it. I love the episode. So good. And the one thing that I realized as I'm watching this and I'm going, wow, everybody thinks that he collapsed their entire sun and that this society is going to go, under because of that. I thought nobody really started mentioning that by collapsing this god or planet, the god anyway, he really collapsed the economy of this system now, because not everything's going to be valued like it once was. So I never even thought of that until this watching. I was like, oh, wait, nothing's really worth anything anymore. Now what do we do?
I suppose for the naysayers that are going, what are they going to do now that the sun is gone? If this is a planet and it is gone, it would still kind of affect the gravitational pull in the area.
I kind of brought that up last week.
All the 7 worlds are now spinning off into space with nothing to,
Now they've become asteroids adrift.
And no money to buy anything to hook up onto them and bring them back.
Wow, those poor third world countries now.
Anyway, thank you very much, Andrew. We appreciate it.
Doctor should be ashamed of himself. Who next?
Up next is Mark.
Okay, so you do this every time. You give me somebody that's not listed. Which Mark?
Mark D.
Mark D. Who it just says traveling the Vortex, so it doesn't say Mark. That's why I'm confused. Okay.
Keith forwarded.
Mark writes, Gents, I think I have finally caught up with you. The main thing I can say about the Cold War is, at last, a Matt Smith episode that has the kids hiding behind the sofa. For me, you're not officially the Doctor until the kids are hiding from the monsters. Am I cruel? Maybe. But if I had to experience this as a child, it is only right that my kids do too. This episode was instant gratification. But to be honest, it wasn't one I will be watching again and again and again. Unlike The Rings of Akhaten. On first viewing Rings, I was neutral on it. It was good Doctor Who. I've since watched it again and find that it is an episode that needs time to sink in. It is more layered than I initially realized and needs more than one viewing to appreciate the intricacies. Now, if we can only get the writers to forget about the sonic screwdriver as a solve-all device, New Who would be greatly improved. Cheers, Mark. That's interesting. Thank you, Mark. We're getting a lot of people that are commenting that I'm seeing that are going back and rewatching Akaton.
I'm glad people are giving it a second chance.
Akhenaten. So, I'm sticking with my pronunciation.
At least that one has some sort of justification for the sonic abilities.
Yeah. Well, it's like the shark in the Christmas Carol. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Sonic's doing what it probably ought to do.
Next up is David.
Oh. Okay. We're deviating.
Oh, wait. No.
We're
deviating. Sorry. No, I'm wrong. It's Phil.
Okay, good. I said we're deviating from our notes. All right, and Phil writes, comment question, hey, two Pekins, no chance I'll have Hyde watch before podcast time due to work schedule, but wanted to chime in with a few thoughts. So Bell's made mention that the Doctor worries about the TARDIS falling into the wrong hands, and Cold War sees a fail-safe trigger to prevent such a thing from happening. Either could be convenient plot points, but I'm left wondering. Number two.
Maybe it's because it's distrust of Clara.
I think that's. It wasn't obvious to me until it was mentioned this week that she actually says it, because a lot of people were saying, "I wonder if the TARDIS doesn't like her." I wonder if.
I got an impression in Rings because she tries to open.
She tries to open the door, and she says, "I don't think it likes me."
Yeah.
Oh, she did say it in there. See, I missed that. I've watched it 3 times. It didn't.
Yeah,
she kind of gives that.
Oh, I do.
I don't think this thing likes me.
I do remember that. Yeah. But see, I still have that opinion in my head that he just has not given her the key.
No, that
if
could
she
be
had the key.
Too.
She's not going to just anyway. So yeah, I think those obvious. Clearly, there were lead ups to something. So. Number 2, I rewatched The Rings of Akbar. It's a Trap.
That's the best of pronunciation of it.
And it's sitting a bit better with me. The ending still doesn't quite work for me, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why or how I would fix it. So it went from good to good +1, I guess. Number 3. Okay, off topic this time. So there I am on the elliptical of the Y, minding my own business, listening to the podcast, when suddenly Sean says what he says. The next thing I know, everyone else is looking at me. Apparently, when Sean said that Batman and Beyond is better than Batman, TAS, I very loudly yelled... I know what it is.
Okay.
I loudly yelled, what? I want to stress that Beyond was a great show, as almost all of the DCU cartoons have been. That's DC Universe for our listeners. But I'd like to argue that Sean's point with a few words. Almost Got Him, Beware the Grey Ghost, Mad Love, Perchance to Dream, Over the Edge, Heart of Ice, Growing Pains, Two-Face, Showdown, Joker's Favor, POV, The Laughing Fish, Feet of Clay. I could go on for another 20 or so episode. I'm going to put titles in there. Easily. But I guess my point is, Sean is totally and completely wrong on this, like, by a lot. You want to respond?
Yeah. It's easy to pick out all of the Paul Dini scripted episodes of Batman the Animated Series for your list of, hey, look, isn't this great? And I will stand beside that list. All of those are fantastic.
Those aren't all Paul Dini.
Well, no, but they're mostly. No. But those are all fantastic episodes. Here's my thing. Batman the Animated Series really like to do a lot of, hey, look, Batman's fighting a giant man-bat this week. They did a lot of those type of episodes. And I like just a little bit more realism in my Batman than what that episode gives. However, you put that episode in Batman Beyond, which is set 90 years in the future, all of a sudden it's fine because it's science fiction. So he can fight all the giant man-bats that he wants. It doesn't bother me at all.
Dressing up as a bat and fighting crime isn't enough science fiction for you?
No, because that could happen.
With a big enough startup capita.
Yeah. I'm Batman. If I had unlimited funds, I could be Batman. But there's something about
unlimited funds and Lucius Fox.
Yeah. There's something about that fundamental shift in. Okay, now it's the future. Things are now plausible in that regard, and I'm willing to accept a broader range of things than I think the animated series does. It's not that I don't like the animated series. I love the animated series, but I really enjoyed the storytelling in Batman Begins or Batman Beyond. So there's that.
I can't comment. I haven't seen Batman Beyond.
It's on Netflix now.
Yep, that's what I've heard. He goes on to say, all right, I'm done hijacking the Who podcast with Batman stuff. Oh, while I'm on the DC thing, did any of you see the new Man of Steel trailer? I'm getting pretty psyched. All right. Hope Hyde is good, and I'll send my thoughts as soon as I get it watched. Odd Duck Phil. P.S. Seriously, one of the episodes of Batman Beyond had him carrying around one of those parenting eggs for school while he was on patrol. Come on.
Have you seen it? The egg, is animatronic and talks and coos, and he goes in to fight the bad guys and it starts crying because he left it. It was not a serious episode,
Wow,
Phil.
that's really...
That was done as a joke.
That's really making me want to go watch the series now.
Superman's looking good.
You know what you know what keeps me from Batman Beyond, and I shouldn't let this taint my opinion, is I read the comic series Spider-Man 2099, and a lot of people liked that. A lot of people said it was great. You know, I started the thing and got about 15 books in, maybe not even quite that many, and it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't very good. It was just the stories were kind of blasé, and it wasn't really developing fast enough for me. Now I think they were trying to stretch it out, but so I was turned off by that. I think you're so invested in a character, you're so invested in Spider-Man, you're so invested in Peter Parker that when suddenly you set it the future, and really the only link to the past. Although they did a good job of weaving things in as they went, but really the only link to the past is the fact that it's the Spider-Man character. Yeah. I feel the same way with Batman. That it's just going to be the Batman character, but it's a whole different person playing. That's why I have no desire to go see Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a continuing series of Batman films, because I'm invested in Bruce Wayne as the Batman. That's who Batman is. So,
but Batman Beyond, at least the animated series, you won't have that issue with.
Oh, it's Bruce Wayne?
No, but Bruce Wayne is in the show guiding him.
I know that.
That was one of my big... I was afraid when they said, we're going to do Batman in the future. I was like, don't care. Automatic, I don't care. No, it's okay, because we're going to get... what's his name? Conroy. Mark? Bruce.
Kevin,
thank you. We're going to get...
Bruce, Kevin.
We're going to get Kevin Conroy to come back and voice old Bruce Wayne.
Sure.
I was like, I don't want to see Bruce Wayne as a decrepit old man. That's going to be bothersome to me. It's done so well that
Dark Knight Returns kind of does that.
Well, but all of my objections just
actually
flew out the window.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, all of my objections flew out the window. It's done so well.
All right.
If nothing else, watch the Return of the Joker.
Eventually, I'll get around to it, I'm sure.
Return of the Joker is good enough. You'll go back and watch the rest of the series.
Who's next? Oh, did we cover everything in there?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes. Thanks, Phil.
Oh, no, Man of Steel trailer.
Man of Steel. I haven't seen it yet.
I am more stoked than I was before. I've been
Me too. I've been skeptical.
I've been very skeptical. Here's the thing. Despite its flaws, I still love the first Christopher Reeve Superman movie. Absolutely love it. It's one of my all-time favorite films.
There are no flaws in that movie.
The last 20 minutes is completely flawed. But
I totally believe you could spin the Earth backwards and go back in time.
However,
I'm going to write an episode of Doctor Who where he flies the TARDIS around.
It's really hard, they
already did that. They
for me
to
space. Go into a Superman movie that's been rebooted from the very beginning. Now, this is coming from a guy who. This is coming from the guy who's read many back in the day, read many incarnations of Superman in the comic books. Okay, so I know that Superman they've rebooted the origin. They stay pretty true to the spirit of the origin, and I have a feeling they will stay pretty true to the spirit in this one.
Aside from the legality of what they can't do.
But on film, it will just be another thing. So here's the thing, though. Do you know why this trailer caught me? Because there's two lines in there, and I'm not going to remember them verbatim, but it's very important. That Russell Crowe says something to the effect of, there's a line in there where Russell Crowe says, something very similar to what Brando says, just almost line for line, and I can't remember what it is. And we're going to get email next week, and they're going to say, "Oh, it was this line," but I just can't remember it right now without recalling it up. But there's also another line that Pa Kent says.
The father becomes the son.
No, it's not that.
It's not that one.
It's just something that it's something my son. It just says it in such a way that it's very Brando-esque. I can't remember the line. Anyway, and then another line that Pa Kent says is very similar to something that Glenn Ford says in the original film, which is, "I believe that you were put on this earth for a greater purpose." It's something, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to that effect.
I remember that line from the trailer.
And it's like oh my gosh, they're at the very least they're trying to get the little skeptical me going, I don't know, this isn't going to be like the first film.
You know what?
How about this one?
And all it did was it peppered it in, and it went, okay, this is probably.
They can be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show them the way. For this reason, above all, their capacity for good, I have sent them you, my only son. No, it's not it.
I think it's the end of that. I think it's just my only son, or something to that effect that he says. But he says it in such a brand new way.
I bequeath you, my son.
The first couple of
that's not it either.
trailers, to me, made me think we were getting another art house Superman. It didn't feel like
Another
Superman.
art house Superman?
Well,
when did we get an
Superman
art house
Returns.
Superman
was
Returns is not.
It's
It's
not
a-
art house. No, it's not art house. It was.
It tried to be an art house Superman.
Well, it was a.
It was a remake of the first film.
Well, other than the fact that it was a land grab thing again, but it.
He shows up in his first appearance and saves an airplane from going down, just like in the original movie. He goes and there's a whole montage sequence of him fighting crime, which ends with him doing the faster than a speeding bullet, bank robbery heist thing in the middle of the thing. He goes and there's an earthquake because of the land grab, so he has to fly around instead of somewhere out in California, it's flying all around Metropolis, stopping the events of this earthquake that have happened. It's a remake of the first film.
The formula's there, but it's not a remake of the first film because.
And I liked Superman Returns.
because they peppered. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best movie, but it
was just
But they
30
peppered
minutes
in
too
the
long.
they peppered in the elements of the relationship between he and Lois and how the dynamic changed. They introduced the. If you want to believe that it was his son, that that kind of stuff. It was the fact that he came back from being in space or
He crushed a guy with a piano. Of course, it was
Well,
his son.
of course it was.
Come on.
Yeah, there's still a lot of
You know,
people.
when
out
you-
there.
I want to know
There's
how
still a lot of
that child
naysayers
did
out there,
not
Sean.
just punch
You want to
through
know?
Lois.
lot
You want to
of
know
child.
how? That's why he's so sickly. You know how sometimes in them emergencies you get superhuman strength. To get freaked out, push the piano on the guy.
That's the thing that I kind of excused by that was that I don't think that he necessarily, because he was half human, his powers were sort of evolving and so it
growing.
was like,
the longer he was actually exposed to the sun as opposed to inner sun.
Just like we didn't see Clark immediately able to fly.
That's
Right.
true.
That's totally plausible. I don't know why
his,
people had such a
his
problem
powers, even in Smallville, the powers kind of came as he aged. In fact, once they make a point in all of Superman that once he hits puberty is when it really all kind of comes to fruition. So yeah.
Well, regardless, the previous
with
trailers.
that. Which is why I don't understand why you have such great problems with Superman 4, because obviously he's a little older, he's been exposed to the sun for longer. Of course he can put the Great Wall of China back together with his eyes now. It's a new power
I'm
he
not
has.
going there. I'm not going
I'm
there.
poking the bear.
I'll take Superman 3 any day over 4. All right. So there.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
I am now
it just
psyched.
looks more like Superman.
Yeah,
to me.
I am now psyched for the
I
new
still
Superman.
haven't seen it, so
you
I'm
should
still
go watch
reserving
it.
my judgment.
Our next bit of feedback.
Dr. Phil sends in some audio.
Let's give it a listen.
Greetings, protectors and defenders of the Vortex. Congratulations on your Comic-Con visit and panel. Thank you for putting that on the podcast feed. It was a very enjoyable listen. The amount of enthusiasm really helped me get through a drive through Southern Illinois. You guys always help me to get through many drives. Best traveling companions ever. Anyway, I wanted to make a few comments. I think Chrissy had made some about kind of fan entitlement, and I'm going to stand on a soapbox for a minute as well, because one of the things the internet age, especially with social media, is kind of, I think people get a great idea in their head that, of course, everyone has an opinion, everyone has a right to their opinion, but, my opinion's not more important than anyone else's. And I think that there's kind of in fandoms online, there's kind of this mob mentality of either mob praise, and if you're the dissenting voice, you're kind of lynched, and then vice versa. It's knee-jerk reactions, and it seems to make some people feel very self-important. About Eccleston not returning, I agree with Brenda. There's all sorts of factors surrounding what anyone who works in acting, in the arts, anything. So I don't tend to judge the guy very much, because I know that from in small interviews he has done, in other quotes, it was not a particularly happy departure from Doctor Who. I think Tom Baker, of course, because of the size of his personality, his departure was, well, especially back for that day before the internet age, was huge. I mean, I found it crushing, and I even read all the plot synopses before I got to him departing Doctor Who, and that just gutted me when he did. But anyway, I digress. Talking about the episodes, I know I'd sent in feedback about Cold War. That I'm kind of, now that I've gotten to the end of your most recent episode, I'm one that I'm not convinced that it feels like a Soviet submarine. For a couple of small details, I think this would have just made the episode a little bit easier for me to take, even though I would say that both that and the Rings of Akaten were very well performed episodes. I would say I'd give them both easily 8 or above out of 10. But, the TARDIS doesn't materialize for a few minutes at the beginning, and they're all speaking English. If someone decides to retcon that the TARDIS can preemptively translate before it arrives, it's like, that's a bit far-fetched. I would have just liked the beginning, and I would have been able to actually believe it was a Soviet submarine, not just a bunch of UK actors acting like it's a UK submarine, if at the beginning, before the TARDIS arrived, if they were all speaking Russian, everything starts going haywire, the TARDIS arrives, and they're suddenly speaking English. I would have loved that. If the opening couple of minutes to be subtitled with actually Russian being spoken, I would have easily been able to buy they were speaking in various UK accents at that point. Now, does that ruin the episode for me? Of course not. I think another colleague had mentioned that that the height of the ceilings would be too low for them to actually fit the police box in. I think they had to leave off the lamp even. Does that bother me? No. It's nice to hear the hats. I think what they did for the Ice Warrior was very good. But I would say that in a way, Cold War felt very safe, new Doctor Who, while the Rings of Akaten was kind of bold, experimental Doctor Who, and I always appreciate Doctor Who being experimental, even when, and there are times that I don't like it. I have mixed feelings. I think I pointed out on the 2 Minute Time Lords Facebook page that I thought it was likely to be very polarizing. I, for one, found the music very corny in this episode, and not because they were singing to a god or anything, because I know that Sean had pointed that out among some criticisms. I just would have, put it in another language and have them sing, and it won't feel quite so corny, because throughout music history has always been criticism of things being sung in English, and that kind of didn't really do it for me. And also I thought, because of the close-ups of the young girl who did great performance of the whole episode, is that of course they re-recorded it in ADR and the lip sync wasn't the same. That was one of the only niggles I had about the Christmas Carol, was at the end when she was singing, when Catherine Jenkins was singing, there was no lip sync whatsoever. They tried to hide it a bit with some clever editing, which, there's only so much you can do in post, and that's understandable. It was, Rings of Akaten special effects extravaganza. I did like the fact that Glenn was the first person I've heard review the episode mention that helmets in episode 1 and no helmets in space. That was kind of it. That detail was very interesting to me. No one had mentioned it before. Everything about Clara was very compelling and dramatic, and I enjoyed that a great deal. There was just performances in both stories were exceptional. David Warner, I agree, criminally underused. Ultravox and Duran Duran, I guess it's what we get from a culture that thinks that all Soviets were enamored with American culture, a la Yakov Smirnov. But, I don't need silly accents like in The Hunt for Red October, because, heck, you've got Sean Connery, who's Scottish, trying to be a Soviet submarine commander. And here's a story for you. With Illinois Philharmonic, a few years back, we were doing Mozart Requiem with Victor Yampolsky. He conducts at Northwestern. He also used to be music director at Omaha Symphony. We got to the Lacrimosa, and he stops the choir, and the orchestra goes, "Choir, your orchestra, choir, that your rehearsal pianist, she's a nice lady, but she likes to rush. Orchestra is like Soviet submarine. It's in no rush to go nowhere. Have you seen The Hunt for Red October?" I tried my best not to die laughing when he said that. And again, please pardon my terrible impression, but it's an impression of Victor Yampolsky, not of any Russians. We always know how to imitate our favorite conductors anyway. But, about the 50th anniversary and, outcry about classic doctors or Eccleston or, I'm hopeful that it will just be good. I'm hopeful that it will connect Doctor Who from its past to its future. In certain ways, I felt like the Five Doctors connected Doctor Who's past to Doctor Who's present. And it's nice to see that maybe they can also be looking a bit forward, too. But I'm just going to wait and see how things turn out. Am I excited that, Kate Stewart's going to return in the Zygons? Yes, because I have a great fondness for Terror of the Zygons. And I still think the original design was a little bit better than the angry Zygon photographs that the BBC's put out. But, that's a small niggle. We always criticize things that deviate from what our nostalgia says is this is the way it's supposed to be. And I agree with Chrissy commenting, well, this is what Doctor Who is supposed to be, or this is or this isn't Doctor Who. For the Rings of Akaten, I'd much rather have a story be ambitious and trying to do something innovative and different than attempting to just rehash and go for the nostalgia for us classic fans, because Doctor Who is for everybody, not just a small group of fans, not even for a small vocal minority of fans. I'm excited. I pre-ordered Light at the End, which is the Big Finish 50th anniversary special. Why? Because, I don't have money to throw away on all Big Finish all the time, but you sit there and go, okay, well, I got to pay my blah, blah, blah cents because they're the people producing it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all 8 Doctors in one adventure. Am I glad that Tennant's back? Yes. Am I glad that Rose is back? No. I kind of felt that her departure was fabulous when it happened, and rehashing that in series 4 was not my idea of great dramatic storytelling, because I felt that she was diluted a bit. But that's my opinion. I thought that, although I should say series 4 is ridiculously quality consistent, it's very, very good. So, there's always going to be elements we love and love less, but the wonderful thing about Doctor Who and even fandom is there's a wide diversity of opinion, and I think that's something we should always celebrate. Thank you guys for always giving a platform for not only your opinions about Doctor Who, but all of ours too. I'll take Rings of Akaten and and as weird and experimental as episodes like the Sea Devils or the Silurians, or because I hear people commenting on online all the time. It's like, oh, I love new Doctor Who because of its music, and I hate old Doctor Who because of its music. And I'm like, well, there's a variety of things in classic Doctor Who, and I find that it's really easy for fandom to not be objective. I know that for a long time I didn't really care for Murray Gold's music, but then I said, well, I need to look at everything in greater detail and give everything a chance, even the things I hated when I was a young fan in Doctor Who, because I want to know more about the subject. And you can't learn more about something if your mind is already closed to it anyway. And so there's more than 20 billion cents on those 2 episodes. But guys, I appreciate everything that everyone's been contributing in feedback. And one last thing real quick about Glenn is there was a lot of change in the Third Doctor's console room, even though we didn't see it often, especially in the first years. Inferno was the first Doctor's original console, the last time it was seen on screen. The Mind of Evil had, and Claws of Axos had, one version of the TARDIS control room, which was very different than the 3 Doctors. Of course, right about the biggest change being in Tom Baker's era. Just a side note, just in case anyone's interested, is that there was an alternative idea at the end of the McCoy era of doing a new console room, because the original console room was in really bad shape, and you'll notice in McCoy's last stories that they use the console, but they don't even have the roundel walls anymore because they've warped and we're just in bad shape, so they look terrible. So there's a point in Big Finish, and I cannot for the life of me remember which story it is, of the 7th Doctors, but they actually do the changeover from the white McCoy control room to the TV movie control room, and all the recent 7th Doctor audios are the newer control room. And fandom, remember, there are quarters of fandom where people, like story arcs, don't like story arcs. But I have from listening to, more than a decade's worth of Big Finish that, I remember listening to Gods and Monsters, which goes all the way back to the Curse of Fenric for Ace, but ties up story arcs that go back to the first years of Big Finish even. And a lot of those references are there in both televised Who and audio Who and novelized Who and comic book Who, to reward people who have been following it for the long term. And there should always be rewards for the long term, but not necessarily alienate those who are new. And I think that Stephen Moffat's done a great job of trying to walk that tightrope, which is a dangerous one to walk, between the casual viewer and the hardcore viewer. But, I was at Northwestern last week doing a presentation with the School of Music, and I walked out to go back to my car, passing the giant Death Star of construction of the new music building, and I walked by a bunch of prospective students who were there for a campus visit, and I heard someone the word Time Lord just rung out over the group, and I'm like, wow. When I was finishing my coursework here in 2002, 2003, no one here at Northwestern knew what Doctor Who was, let alone would be uttering anything about Doctor Who. Back then, I was a closet Doctor Who fan. Sometime in high school, I remember middle school being beaten up for watching Doctor Who and such. And, to see how popular the show is, I'll take it. And I think that in Who, there's something for everyone. And I'm a classic series fan. There's some parts of New Who I like, some parts I don't. Big Finish seems to be best catered to those of us who are classic fans. But does that mean that I don't enjoy New Who? I like all of it for very different reasons. So, I have my favorite classic series Doctor was Tom Baker. My favorite audio Doctor is Colin Baker. My favorite new series Doctor is Matt Smith, because he reminds me of the qualities I like most out of my favorite classic series Doctors. And so, everyone has an opinion, everyone's entitled to it, and I hope that we continue to hear such great diversity of opinion as we have for a long time on Traveling the Vortex. And I want to thank you guys for always letting us voice our thoughts. Take care, gentlemen. See you after the ghost story airs. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
Very insightful.
As long as Traveling the Vortex will be around, we will be here for everyone to share their opinions.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No matter how opposite of ours they are.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that 12-year-old writes in. I might.
A lot of good points on the thing. I think you sort of shared some of the things that we had, issues with last week, and the things that we praised about it as well.
Well, even his comments on fandom. It's such a.
I feel
voices
really
for everybody.
I feel really bad for people because while I can sympathize with people that were quote unquote geeks in high school and junior high and grade school when it was harder back then to be a geek. I sympathize with those people that I got beat up because I watched Doctor Who. I got beat up because I was a Star Wars fan. I got beat up because I loved Star Trek. I never got beat up for those type of things. Now, I never was one of those guys that went to school. I wasn't a Sean who went to school dressed as in my Star Trek uniform. I never went with. So I think I wouldn't necessarily say I was a closet fan of science fiction. And
you were
and
smart
geeky
enough
things.
not to let the flag fly.
I just didn't let the flag fly. I think in grade school and middle school for certain, I was pretty introverted. And by the time that I kind of came out of my shell in high school, I had put a lot of this stuff behind me because, like I said, I lost interest in Doctor Who because I suddenly started noticing girls. I had a car, I had money, I had a job. I was able to go out and do other things, and so those were distractions for me. So while I sympathize and I see how people struggled, I never was bullied because of my fandom. It was one of those things when I came home, that was my world at home. Yeah. But when I stepped out of the house, that wasn't my world outside the house. So I feel so bad when I hear people say that. I got beat. But I am very admiring of those of you that wore that on your sleeve. You know what I mean? That were proud enough to fly that flag. It wasn't that I wasn't proud of what I was. It was a different reality for me. And so at home, it was. I had wall to wall. I had comic books all over my walls. I had wallpapered my room in comic books. Hung them on the wall. I had. So if anybody came to my house, they knew
literally.
Literally,
Like you put
yeah.
glue on the back of
No.
the...
And then, back in the day, they had that blue tack.
Uh-huh.
Back when it worked.
Oh,
and
okay.
didn't take the paint off your wall.
Didn't take...
They actually
Or rip
the
up
first
whatever you were hanging.
incarnation of that stuff was called blue tack. That's what it was actually called. And there was a bunch of knockoffs later that left grease paint or grease marks and pulled your paint off.
Yeah.
But blue tack was the most wonderful substance in the world because I bagged my comic books, so they were boarded and bagged, and then I would put one piece of little blue tack on each corner and then stick it on the wall, and they literally stayed up the whole time. I mean, for years they stayed up there. And when I pulled them down, there was no grease spots or anything. Now, 2 of my walls were paneled too, so you probably couldn't see the grease spot. But
It's actually kind of a cool idea.
TM and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle posters up. I had Batman posters up. I had that kind of stuff. So if you came to my house, you knew what I was. You knew but that all stayed within the. So I guess the bullies. I was just off. I was off of everybody's radar
now. That's really kind of cool.
I was really off the radar. Is what happened. Yeah. So I sympathize.
I sympathize, but at the same time, I want to kind of let out a dude. You were beat up for being a Doctor Who fan. I'm really kind of curious to know that story now. I mean,
I've never understood the people that would beat up somebody for liking something else.
Yeah,
just in general,
easy targets.
Just baffles me.
It just in bullying
and
the same
obviously
now. I don't think
those people have such low self-esteem they have to do something like that to make themselves feel better, and that just makes me sad for the people who beat up.
Were they beating?
I feel bad for the people who got beat up. I feel even worse about the people.
Oh, absolutely.
Were doing the beating.
Were you beat up because it was like, oh, you like Doctor Who, and now we're going to pick on you? In which case, hey, they know about Doctor Who, which is still kind of cool. Or was it you were beat up because you were wearing a 16-foot scarf in June? And they thought you were weird. I'm curious to know where that...
Now, if I'd ever said anything about Doctor Who, no one would have known what I was
People
talking
would have been,
about.
what? What are you talking about?
From where I lived. I mean, I literally knew no one else that knew Doctor Who. Not even my sister.
Yeah.
She knew I watched it, but back then she had no clue what it was.
Yeah.
I freaked out when Mel came... The first time Mel came over, and I had the Tom Baker poster that I'd rescued from... Because I bought it at Comics and Fantasies when it was a big deal. Which was never. And, I had it hang on the wall, and then it got taken down, and one corner was torn off and everything, and I'd rescued it, and I still had the corner, and I taped it back up, and I rehung it at the house over on Arrowhead. Mel came over and went, oh, I recognize him. That's the Doctor. It's like, ugh! So, yeah.
Anyway, so...
We're going to have to do a whole episode on sci-fi fan bullying and Doctor Who.
Sure.
There's a
Why not?
wealth of material in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
Not this year. We're too busy
Maybe
this
we
year.
should ask for people to send in their stories.
Yeah.
All right, next
okay,
up.
send in your stories. We'll get to them eventually.
Next
we'll
up.
stockpile them. Next up is David. He says, Thunderclaps, not to be confused with Thundercats, not to be confused with the TARDIS, which is like a cat. Hey, Vortex guys. Gonna launch right into it. I decided to rewatch The Rings of however you want to pronounce it after your last podcast. And now can definitely say it's one of my favorite episodes of Who.
I think we must have pushed people back to the episode, and then now they liked it. Maybe we give them another perspective on it.
I hope so.
Kind of like we did with Love and Monsters.
Yeah.
No, we didn't get any of this glowing feedback on Love and
I
Monsters.
got something just a
we?
few weeks ago on thank you for the new perspective.
Oh, yeah, we got all sorts of emails
and we
about
did
the new
right
perspective.
after that, yeah. And Chris even mentioned that she looked at it in a different way.
Right. Well, then, because we are so influential and powerful, I'll say it again. Towns of Windchild sucks.
You know what happened? Not a lot of people went back and watched Town Called Mercy after
They were all left standing there scratching their heads going, I don't understand why they don't like this.
Oh, Holly and I watched Dinosaurs on a Spaceship last night, too. I forgot about that. So
Well, you've just been on a Who tear.
absolutely. Lots of fun. All right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So going into Hyde, I felt confident. And quite rightly, I feel, because while not being that scary, it was quite good. I think there was a definite tense atmosphere. What? Oh. And felt the hairs go up on my neck.
I'm just non-verbally...
Oh, agreeing.
No, disagreeing. But I'll get into that later.
Love lots of lines, and the bit where Clara and the Doctor high-fived after returning from the Pocket Universe. I also like the references to the Eye of Harmony, which I reckon will appear next week. Or
with or without.
With or without Eric Roberts. I hope without. And Metabellus 3, even though Matt Smith pronounced it incorrectly. Did I just pronounce it incorrectly also?
Metabellus is how it should have been. No.
Okay.
Yes, Metabellus is... No.
Metabellus.
Metabilis is how it's supposed to be pronounced.
He pronounced it Metabilis.
Even at Metabilis. Yeah.
I
Potato,
thought
potato.
the revelation about the ghost was clever, but I couldn't figure out why she was dressed as an extra from 80s Who. And even if the ending of the episode was relatively I think the episode on a whole was quite enjoyable. Now, time to get ready to a journey to the center of the TARDIS. David.
I think he said Meatabellus.
Maybe, that's what it
I
was.
think
It was
Meatabellus.
me was at the
Long
beginning.
E.
Meatabellus.
That's why I didn't
Metabellus.
catch it. He said Meatabellus.
Meatabellus instead of Metabellus.
So I did not catch it when he said it in the episode.
I did and went,
I did.
wow, he said it wrong. I did.
I
totally went, oh, that's not quite how it's pronounced, but okay. That's
I
what
totally
it
took it
was.
as more than a name drop. I thought they were going somewhere completely different.
Oh.
with it. But I'll get there.
All right.
Up next is Daryl.
Daryl writes in, feedback submitted. Hello, Vortexians. I don't
Makes
think I
us
like
sound
that.
like we're from Texas.
Where do you live?
Vortexes.
Texas. Listen to you every week, and I feel a bit low when I realize that I didn't get feedback, and I feel I let you down. I'm sorry. Daryl, it's never a big deal.
He realized he didn't feedback, not get feedback.
He didn't feedback. Yeah. And, well, don't feel bad for not sending anything, ever.
Well,
Nobody.
your songs every week are preaching how people should be sending in feedback.
Well,
So you
there's
can't
that.
turn around and say... That's so two-faced, Sean.
I know.
So two-faced.
I know. It's just because I
You're
like
just one personality in song and one personality in speak, aren't you?
I have my spirit fingers out in song. I did Facebook Sean last week and suggested Cold War from... I'm just having issues tonight. I did Facebook Sean last week and suggested Cold War by Styx from 1983 as a feedback song for Cold War. But then I found out you were all sequestered for the week from new reviews on the social media. I just thought it would be cool. Or cold. Ha ha ha!
Which, by the way, he did not pass that information on to me. Although, I think the Ultravox song that I found and picked really suited it.
Well, he wanted this for the feedback song.
Hungry
for the
Hungry Like the
feedback jingle.
Wolf was still kind
I
of...
gotcha.
I had to do Hungry Like the Wolf.
Well, and I closed the show out with Hungry, too, last week.
I apologize.
Although it is
Cold War
kind
would've
of
been
kind of the Ghostbusters of the episode. That's what people would have expected last week.
That's
so-
true. That's true. And you were giving him so much praise for not using Facebook
This week.
Ghostbusters this
All
week,
right.
and he used
Maybe Daryl's right. I should have used Cold War from Styx. What was I
I'm a
thinking?
Styx fan. I'm not familiar with that song, so I'm gonna have to go look it up.
Yeah, honestly, that's
It's not on the greatest hits. So.
I saw the
That's most
Facebook
of what I
message
know.
come in, but I saw it come in really late, and I'd already written the Hungry Like the Wolf one, well, most of it. So I was kind of like, I'll look that one up later, because I wasn't familiar with it either. I mean, Styx had like 4 songs, right? They had Mr. Roboto,
What?
Babe.
They had more than 4. They had at least
Mr.
16,
Roboto,
which was on the
Babe.
greatest hits.
Come Sail Away.
Come Sail Away, and Lady.
Lady.
That's it.
Those are the 4 big ones.
Those are the 4.
There's a good number of them out there.
Anyway, ahem, he continues. Okay, on to Hyde. I thought it was a very 70s episode, like last week's Cold War. It had a major poltergeist vibe to it. Really never felt the same tenseness or scares that the movie did. I thought the acting was great. Jessica Raine was good. Looking forward to her as Verity in An Adventure in Space and Time. Dougray Scott was great as the Scottish professor, although I could have seen Craig Ferguson in that role with a Scottish accent. Well, Craig would have been good.
Yeah.
I like Dougray, but I liked the cinematography in the forest and the different time periods. Did I miss something? Did the Doctor ever show the pictures he took on his travels in the past, present, and future to the Professor? I don't think he did. It almost seemed like another vehicle to show Clara his abilities and not part of the actual story.
I thought he did. Didn't he?
He showed pictures
the
of
pictures of the
girl.
ghost. Of the woman.
Or the woman.
Wasn't that the same pic? Wasn't that those pictures?
I think that was the reason he was taking those pictures, so that she would always be there. I don't think he was just taking pictures for the sake of taking pictures. He's going back to show the ghost has always been here, but it's because her timeline is encapsulated in that bubble. But it could be that, obviously the focus is on her going, and not necessarily the barren landscape
background.
of nothing behind her.
Right.
But either way. Anyway, the ghost being this alien, who never really spoke at all, was a bit rubbish. Totally anticlimactic. I did like the alien on the forest road, which was separated from its mate, and he went to collect it. I shouted when he turned around. The alien was there, ready to go with him so he could meet its mate. Huzzah! That was hilarious. Overall, not a bad story, but once again, we get a good premise let down by a rushed or rubbish climax. Not the forest alien part, though. Next week's story looks to be great. If it's as good as the preview, then we're in for a treat. Take care, keep up the good work. Daryl, from Gulliver Street, after all, St. Louis. And thank you, Daryl.
All right, I'm going to add to that 3 songs that weren't on your list were The Best of Times, Too Much Time on My Hands,
Oh, yeah.
and Renegade.
Renegade
is like the number one Styx song.
I really like Crystal Ball also.
Oh,
See,
Crystal Ball's
I
a
think
good
we
one.
went-
Now, that's a little more obscure. But
It
it's-
is, but
I
it
think
made
we went
the
through
greatest
this
hits.
on one of the Klieg compilations, and I'd made that, and you guys all freaked out that I didn't go with such and such for a Styx song. And it's like,
Clearly, you only know
Renegade.
4.
there's only, I say
No,
it again,
come on,
There are only
Renegade.
4.
there's only 4
At the
Styx.
very least, there should be 5.
No. Do you know why I haven't bought any Styx on Rock Band? Because none of those 4 are available.
Too Much Time on My Hand is.
None of my 4 are available. Styx had 4
Did you see that
songs.
it stopped?
Huh? Yeah, no more
Yeah.
DLC.
Did you see the last one, though?
American Pie. I got the
Yeah.
American Pie.
Oh, cool. Very good.
Not that you care.
All right, who's up next? No, I really don't. Who's next?
Next up is Holly.
On the bright side, you'll never get another update from me again on that, because there won't be
I think
any-
I pretty much secured killing that anyway. All right, and Holly writes, her subject line is Hiding Amongst the Stones. Hey guys, great last podcast. Kudos for using Hunger Like a Wolf for the feedback song. So
Thank
there
you,
you go. The Vengeance of the Stones. This was a good story. We get to hear Mike Yates' first interaction with a doctor in unit and how he gets his job working with them. We also get a mention of Bessie. The plot line with the Stones was interesting, though, to be honest, I did find myself wandering off in a few parts of the story and had to go back and re-listen to certain sections. Not sure if it was because of all that was going on. It was Not sure if it was because of, with all that going on, to keep things straight, or it was the voice acting in some parts. I think you're right on both accounts there. Other than that, I really don't have any major complaints about this adventure. Hide. This was a fun little jaunt with just the right amount of comedy and suspense. Loved Clara's Ghostbusters line from the cold open. Very interesting that when the doctor introduced himself to Palmer as the doctor, Palmer replied, Dr. Watt, instead of the usual Who line. Emma's warning to Clara about being careful about the doctor because of the sliver of ice he has in his heart makes me wonder what she saw/felt, and if it refers to his not getting over the loss of the pawns, the Time War, or something else entirely that we haven't found out yet. Clara's questioning of the doctor when they're doing their time hopping to get Palmer and Emma about how she and the others who have traveled with the doctor must be like ghosts to him, I found rather interesting, and it may have touched a nerve with him from the way he turned around and then turned back to answer to her. The TARDIS is still not liking Clara, though Holly was one of those people that brought that up, that the TARDIS didn't like Clara. The TARDIS is still not liking Clara, though I think they've made some headway in this episode. We get the orange spacesuit from the Satan Pit /42 and a couple of other episodes. Well, Waters of Mars for another one that we just recently did. The look on the doctor's face after Clara says it makes her eyes hurt had me chuckling. I love the line. I love it. I think it brings up my eyes. What makes my eyes hurt? The forest that the doctor landed in was spooky and creepy. Was glad that Hilla was not an actual ghost. Really have to give Emma credit for doing what she did to bring Hilla and the doctor back. I'll wrap this up here, and there's a lot of stuff to be covered. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts and our fellow Vortexers. Vortexers. It's like Vortexians. Holly from Wisconsin. Sorry.
Vortexers.
Vortexers.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Up next is Chrissy. We're going always. Dear Vortex Boys, this one will be short since I'm spending today doing family stuff, so I'm going to get right into reviews. Hide. Between this and The Rings of Akhaten, I hope they keep Neil Cross in the rotation of regular Doctor Who writers. I love how the plot of the story is so straightforward. It's a ghost story where the Doctor finds a logical explanation for, but there are so many other wonderful ideas woven throughout that it makes it stand apart from being just another ghost story. I loved all the little one-liners like experience makes liars of us all and a sliver of ice in his heart. when talking about the Doctor, and I may be a teeny tiny bit afraid, but I'm still a grown-up. There are more, and I'll remember them when I rewatch the episode, but those are some of the ones I wrote down. I love the Doctor time traveling in the same spot from the beginning of the Earth to the end, and how Clara points out that everyone is pretty much dead to the Doctor, which is more true in her case than she knows. It's a great way for the Doctor to almost tell Clara why he's so interested in her, but frames the discussion in such a way that Clara thinks he's talking about humanity in general and not just her. It adds another layer to Clara's story. I don't want her to know quite yet that the Doctor's met her before as other people who have died, but this scene still advances the mystery without taking away from the story going on at the moment. Also, a great philosophical discussion, and something I've thought about before. How humans are both alive and dead to the Doctor. How we could be so insignificant to him in the grand scheme of things, yet he repeatedly says he is fascinated by humans and our potential, that he's never met anyone who wasn't important. So humans are the Doctor's Schrodinger's cat. The Schrodinger's human.
Great. There's an image I won't be able to get rid of now.
We're all in a box.
Thanks, Keith.
Yep. And I love the it's not a ghost story. It's a love story aspect for both the creatures separated by the pocket universe and for Alec and Emma, because I'm a sucker for a good love story. Question. Has Doctor Who ever done a story about lovers separated by time and the Doctor has to help them come back together in some way? Because that would be fun to do. I've seen it done in other movies, but I can't think of any that Doctor Who has done. Maybe I'm just forgetting some, start rattling off a bunch, and I'll feel dumb for not remembering those. And anything, any guys?
Nothing pops in my mind.
Hyde.
Oh, yeah, Hyde. Totally.
Nothing pops in my mind.
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, unless...
Dr. Phil will help us out. He
He'll
remembered some of
know.
the TARDIS changes. In
He'll
the third Doctor.
pounce on that with 10 episodes plus some big finish. Other than, I mean, if you kind
And
of...
comics. Oh, no.
Yeah. If you kind of sort of wanted to include all of, Amy and Rory, I guess. But
Not stretching, but yes.
not that we're aware of, Chrissy.
She continues with, anyways, Vengeance of the Sones. I admit, I was a little annoyed that the Third Doctor's story, the Third Doctor's Destiny of the Doctor story featured Captain Yates, not Joe Grant or even Sergeant Benton, because, well, Captain Yates isn't exactly one of the main companion types for the Third Doctor. He's more of a secondary character to keep Unit looking good, and sometimes he didn't do such a good job with that. But, as I listened to the story...
Only once. Well, no, that's twice. No, wait, no, that's not true. No, okay. I get the point.
But as I listened to the story, I appreciated where they went with the character. It was cool to see Yates before he became a part of UNIT. He goes from being skeptical of aliens and the supernatural to being a captain of the organization in charge of keeping Earth safe from alien threats. The more I see of UNIT, the more I wonder why we even bother with Torchwood. The use of the second actor in the story was great too. I like that he played the alien threat and they could change his voice enough that it doesn't bother me that Richard Franklin is playing all the other characters except the alien, because it would be strange to hear Yates' voice acting as the adversary in this place. Also, Richard Franklin does a great Brigadier. I was quite impressed. All in all, a great little story and an enjoyable installment to this series. That's it from me. Enjoy the rest of your feedback, and a big welcome to all the first-time feedbackers from last week. I hope to hear more from all of you. Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Very good.
We will share our thoughts on all those soon, but first, Kirk.
Kirk writes, we Vortex, and so on. Hey, Vortex crew, I'll jump right into my feedback on Hyde. This was a wonderful episode. My whole family gives it thumbs up. It was tightly written, smartly directed, and the guest cast was superb. The story balanced suspense, character interaction, humor, and more than one clever twist. They had fun with the ghost story tropes without going camp, and as we wrapped up the main adventure, I was satisfied, but had just enough time to think, hey, who was holding Clara's hand? And who was moving around in the shadows? And then the Doctor put it all together and answered those questions. I didn't see that coming at all. The story also managed to advance the Clara arc with without distracting from the episode's story. The pocket universe effects were eerie and well done. Special recognition has to go to Dougray Scott and Jessica Raine for their strong performances. The actors had a great chemistry together, and also with the Doctor and Clara. I especially enjoyed the parallels between the relationships of Professor Emma and Dr. Clara. Jessica Raine seems like great casting for Verity Lambert in the upcoming TV movie, and she would also be a wonderful companion for the Doctor in her own right. Agreed.
Yep.
One lingering question. They established that you could only view the Ghast in the presence of an empathic psychic type, but the Doctor was able to photograph it throughout time. So who was making that possible? The Doctor? Clara? The episode didn't leave loose ends, so this seems like it would be significant.
Was the Doctor, clearly.
Or even just the TARDIS, because the TARDIS has telepathic circuits.
Well, so does the Doctor. I mean, the Doctor is it. I mean, all Time Lords are low-level telepaths. That's been established many times.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's totally.
Is the Ghast the alien, or is the Ghast? What was the
Ghast was the alien. That's what they were calling.
Okay, well, that was the thing. He wasn't photographing the Ghast. He was photographing the woman stuck in time.
Well, yeah,
that's the Ghast.
The Ghast was the ghost.
The Ghast is the ghost.
He's referencing.
I thought he was referencing the alien.
The ghosts, because is it in? Oh, man,
what are you talking about? The woman that was stuck in time and the ghost was the same thing. In
but
our
the
universe,
alien is what I'm talking about.
Oh no, the alien wasn't the
okay,
Ghast.
That's okay.
They kept referring to the white woman that kept.
I didn't catch that she was the Ghast.
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah.
All right, just checking. So yes, the Doctor's a low-level telepath then. As far as Metabellus 3, I don't care how it was pronounced. Different teeth, different pronunciation. If Tom Baker can say Gallifrey, Matt Smith
a good point.
can have his way with Metabellus.
Perfect. That fixes that altogether. I got you.
On a 10-point scale, this one ranks a 9. I don't have any significant criticisms of it, but I don't think Hyde lacks the level of difficulty for a 10. I'll reserve that for episodes with grander aspirations, like The Empty Child Doctor Dances, Human Nature, Family Blood, Blink, Turn Left, and The Big Bang. See you in the Vortex.
Very good.
Very nice.
We'll touch on some of those as well. Hopefully we answered your question there. So, and finally,
Michelle
writes, her subject line is just hide. Quick, hide. Hi, guys.
Oh, I'm under the table.
Just one thing about last night's episode. Did anyone else feel a little bit lost during the conversation where the Doctor and Clara are talking about sharks making babies? The way they were talking made me feel like I was missing something, like the conversation had its roots in a conversation, or at least a part of their relationship that we didn't see. I'm fine with when Team TARDIS references an off-screen adventure, but this just left me feeling lost. Michelle. P.S. Another instance, here in hindsight, is 2020. Planet of the Spiders might have been a better choice for Friday Night Who. Blue Crystal for Metabellus and Liz Sladen. Metabellus 3. Okay. I'll address the shark comment now, because I didn't get the impression they were talking about a past adventure or a different adventure. He clearly asked about sharks having babies, and I think that the alliteration was there. We're afraid of sharks. We fear and we run from sharks, but sharks have mates, and those mates make babies. And Clara's making the clever comment that even though it's smart, the shark looks like it's smiling, because I think he says that, a shark smiles. It's, well, yes, but it's, she talks about the teeth and the danger.
Here's the interchange.
Go ahead.
How do sharks make babies?
Yeah.
Carefully. No. Happily. Sharks don't actually smile. They've got lots of teeth. They're quite eaty. Exactly, but birds do it, bees do it, and even educated fleas do it.
Which is a line from a song.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
right.
That's the whole exchange.
So that's the point. Is I think he was making the alliteration, or he was alluding to the fact that just because you're scared of something doesn't mean it doesn't love. It doesn't have a mate and doesn't make babies. Doesn't procreate. So I mean, your perception of a shark is fear and they're bad, but they're really not. They're like any other animal. They're like the birds, the bees. I mean, even Educated fleas. That they are looking for their mate, and so a lot of times we misrepresent sharks in the same way that the Doctor and Clara were misrepresenting this alien, and I think that was all that conversation was to serve, was to make a point that don't look at something on the surface, because there's a lot more to it. So
yeah,
I think that's simply all that you were talking about there, Michelle.
And as for Planet of the Spiders, We didn't do that one for Friday Night Who's because we haven't seen that one yet. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, we're in case you didn't get the memo, we've been trying, at least while New Who is on, we're going to be going back and kind of revisiting some of the Friday Night Who's that we've already reviewed, just to keep it a little easier on the scheduling end of things with reviewing stuff, because New Who is occupying so much of everybody's time. Plus, we've got the 50th anniversary. Plus, we've got the Big Finish 50th anniversary adventures. Plus, we've got the comic books. There's just so much going on right now during this time frame that we kind of thought we're not going to try and cram yet another story in there to talk about into our podcast, because we'll run 7 hours on each episode. It'll be kind of insane. And that one in particular, because it's a 6-parter.
Yes.
So it would have taken 2 weeks over Friday Night Who with
Exactly.
that. So, yeah, we'll be, for at least the next couple of weeks anyway, we'll be definitely treading in probably some familiar waters, so to speak, to kind of carry that shark metaphor just a little bit further with the Friday Night Who's. But, yes, it is on the schedule, just not anytime soon.
All right, well, let's move on to this week's episode. Hide.
Dun, dun, dun!
Maybe
Glenn-
not as exaggerated.
No,
but
not
Glenn
that
didn't like it.
exaggerated.
I really enjoyed the episode, and what I really liked about this episode is that halfway through is we discover, it's not actual ghost. I thought we were going to go up till the end, and look, no, it's actually this, and this.
You know, I sort of thought.
I feared that.
I think that's what I feared.
sort of thought, okay, it's obviously going to be something that we don't expect it to be. So I didn't have a problem with that at all. I didn't think that was. I mean, that wasn't a relief when they got there, because I thought they're going to get there.
I was just pleasantly surprised that they got there sooner than I was anticipating.
I still think it took longer than what. Oh, no.
It was about halfway through the episode that he figures it out.
Well, this is it.
There's that weird break.
Maybe my enthusiasm for this episode stems 100% from the fact that I expected very little from it going in.
Well,
The preview set it up, and it's like, we're doing the haunted house story. And immediately, my teeth are on edge, because, as we've talked about before, you can't do supernatural in Who. We've had a couple of instances of that with some Big Finish stories that we've reviewed and whatnot, that they kind of left it open to interpretation and given us a quote-unquote ghost. And it's just like, because Doctor Who is best when it explains,
the science.
the science of it. So automatically, you've set this up, and we're doing a ghost story. Okay, it's going to be an alien in the closet. It's going to be some sort of psychic supernatural force, something plausible that is creating this ghost image. So right off the bat,
we know it's not a ghost.
I know it's not a ghost. Right off the bat. And I'm dreading that, what if they really make it a ghost? Because that will kind of just destroy the fragility of what they've set up.
See...
And just right off the bat, I wasn't looking forward to this, because I was like, I don't want a ghost story, because they all kind of de-evolve into that Scooby-Doo, let's run around and hide, and I mean, the episode's even called Hide, and I wasn't excited about it. And it started, and I was not expecting it to be as atmospherically cool as it was. I think they did a fantastic job with the setup and giving it that haunted house feel, without going the camp trope haunted house feel, because there are things that they could have very easily done with squeaky doors and cobwebs and stuff.
I thought it was all that.
I didn't think so, but
Not to mention, there was this build-up of everybody that had reviewed it already this week, and that even that's just it. Even the
watching
script,
it.
even the I think even Moffat said this. That it was going to be. It's a really creepy episode. Be
I didn't think
be
it was
ready to
that
be scared.
creepy.
Wasn't creepy at all.
I didn't think it was creepy. It
had a great
scary at all.
atmosphere.
It just had great atmosphere too.
But it wasn't.
No, it didn't make me. It didn't make me scared. It did not make me scared.
It felt like every other. I mean, the atmosphere. Don't get me wrong. The story didn't feel this way, but the atmosphere felt like any other ghost story to me.
But they did a great job of setting it up. The performances from Dougray Scott and what's her name?
Jessica Raine
were fantastic. I totally got that she's a future companion vibe off. She's definitely potential off of her, because she was really good. I loved the way they kind of hinted and played at that relationship that they have but they don't have, or that she wants and that he wants but he can't ask, and she can't ask because she'd be getting it from empathy instead of from something else. I thought that was really good. I liked the Doctor and Claire in this, except for when, okay, we're going to go explore the house now. Take your calendar, I've got my Sonic. We're going to go ahead and explore the house. and spooky things start happening. And the doctor initially is very, cold spot, warm spot, cold spot. Okay, he's doing doctor-type things. But then he actually gets frightened and starts running away like a Scooby-Doo character. And I kind of was like, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because we're doing Pertwee all this month. I kept thinking of Pertwee in this role, and it's like, I cannot see John Pertwee doing this.
No, but I could totally see Troughton.
I could
look at the way he ran away in that alley.
Yeah,
and
he's being shot at. That's different. There are other incarnations of the Doctor.
Troughton was a very run and be scared type.
Yeah,
that's what Matt's doing.
And Matt's always taking inspiration from Troughton.
But there were other incarnations of the Doctor that I had issues going. Why are you running from this? You should be running toward this. You should be excited over the thought of the unknown. And I kind of kept chalking it up. Well, maybe he's got Clara to worry about, so he's.
Since when has that stopped?
I know. Yeah. That's just it. That was the one thing that didn't really jive. And then eventually he did get there. Eventually, I mean, it wasn't until very, very late in the game that he turned around and went, hey, wait a minute. I figured this out. And
I don't know. He did a lot of running
scared of it,
and scared in, what was the one with the kid that was sending everybody into the dollhouse? I mean, he still even had some of that in that.
I had problems with it then, too. I mean, I like my hero to be, I mean, he doesn't have to be Superman, but he has to, has to be a little heroic. Unless it is a threat of such great magnitude. Daleks, for example, if he's facing an army of them, that's a good example when to run away. But they've gone the reverse with that.
But he doesn't.
He charges into them.
He charged right into that one.
But, a ghost, or the Doctor should be coming at this at the same mindset. He's there specifically to bust the thing because he knows it's not a ghost. And he even makes the comment, I thought this would be fun, and it isn't. There's something else going on here. So maybe it was just that put him off a little bit. But that's really my only complaint about this. Everything else I thought was above the board. I was pleasantly surprised by this episode, and I really, really liked it. Probably to the point where I'll say this is... it's definitely my favorite of the Season 7B.
Really?
Yeah, which I didn't think it would be.
Wow.
But again, maybe I've only seen it the one time, so maybe I'm still...
More than Rings?
Yeah, even more than Rings. Maybe I'm just still writing that, it was my expectations were so low going into it that I liked it so much that I'm really exaggerating the way I really feel about it. Maybe I'll come back down a little bit after a second viewing. I really liked this one. I love the fact that it, that when we got to the explanation of what this thing was, I thought that was way cool because it wasn't an alien in the cupboard. It wasn't some malevolent force
was a nice
that was just hanging out in the house.
Also.
I agree.
And I went in expecting, okay, I know it's not going to be a ghost. We all know it's not going to be a ghost. I like that they didn't waste so much time. They wasted enough to fill the episode out.
Well, I didn't feel like it was time wasted.
It was
a nice setup. I mean,
it was good setup. But if they would have gone to the last 5 minutes,
well, yeah, that would have been too much. But I mean,
then it would have been wasted.
You just said though that it was already too much time.
No,
it wasn't. It was the right amount.
The right amount.
Here's the deal with that, though. I totally agreed with you because even we're going and exploring the house, and now we're getting there's something scary holding your hand and the cold spot and all that kind of stuff. It's still kind of in vein of we think this is a ghost, or we're supposed to think this is a ghost, and we all know this isn't a ghost. So I was with you there, kind of going...
Some of the cold spot stuff they probably could have... Well, no. He could have circumvented to figure it out.
Let's talk about the cold spot stuff, because that's the only thing that's one of the big complaints I have.
Because it doesn't go anywhere.
They don't do anything with it.
It's as
he
big
walks
as
into
the
a cold
whole,
spot,
circle there.
But they don't explain why it's in that part of the house. They don't explain that it's this...
Why it starts
it's this anomaly that's causing
or
that.
Whatever it does.
Yeah, he draws a big circle on the floor, exaggerating, showing me that spot as though that's going to be important later, and then the steam comes up from the floor.
It was the portal.
That wasn't where the portal was. The portal was downstairs.
And I bet there was a cold spot downstairs, but they were distracted by the visual of it.
That was not well. Now,
explained.
had he drawn that circle on the floor downstairs, and that's where the portal appeared, absolutely, I said, "Oh, that's totally what that is." Doing it in the heart of the
music room's the heart of the house.
Yeah, the house.
That lends too much to the ghost aspect.
If they had been in there, now maybe they were in the music room. Maybe they had moved all the equipment into the movie.
But they didn't show that
and
well
that's where they were doing it. But exactly, it wasn't conveyed to me. It was
because he makes that comment when they walk into that room, the music room.
Yeah,
which I almost expected us to get a big Sonic thing going on.
No, I mean later. Maybe they moved it up there.
Oh no, I don't think so.
But the portal appeared downstairs at one point when they were.
Yeah,
I had a real problem with that because they didn't feel like they went anywhere with it, and
No, I
bothered by that.
totally
Bothered
agree
by
with you,
that.
Keith. That I thought, oh, this is going to be you're spending too much time on this ghost nonsense until the reveal at the end.
Well,
when
that
they revealed
reveal
that there
at the very,
actually
very
was
end
a monster in the house.
was very cool.
That all of a sudden justified all the time we spent because there was something in the house that wasn't a ghost.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
So that fixed that for me
I had
very
no problem
easily.
with that at all.
But it was cold spot stuff, and it's
Yeah, it was those, and that's the other thing is it's like, okay, they gave us all the atypical ghost haunted house tropes because they were trying to set that up as though there was a ghost there. They're trying to fool the viewer. The problem with that is this is like the first time that it's been somebody in a pocket universe. Does that mean every ghost alleged haunting, is somebody stuck in a pocket universe? And this is a phenomenon that happens all the time. And why isn't the doctor popping around and fixing everybody? Because if that's the cause, if everything that was happening in the house is the cause of the effect of that cause, why is it like that everywhere else? Why is that it didn't gel for me, because it was like, if that's what's causing all of that, then we've got a lot of other problems going on where there are claimed hauntings other places and cold, and people are taking pictures of ghosts. So I love the concept of this element. I love the concept of the fact that there's this time traveler, and it's really only 3 minutes to her, but it's thousands and millions of years for Earth, because it's this conflict between the two universes. So I love that idea. It's just by placing all of the typical ghost story tropes in there, then I have problems, because it's like you're doing that to set it up so you make me believe that it's a ghost story, but then when you explain what it is and you don't explain why that is doing these certain things, other than the fact that we see the same image of her every time, it doesn't work for me. Now, if they would have simply said it was the other thing that was the alien's mate that was in the house that was causing maybe some of these in some way, I'd have been fine. Well, clearly some of the sounds that were being made,
the sounds and the holding in the hand, yes,
was, and that's fine. They did well enough to explain that, but they didn't go far enough to explain some of the things that they left that left me empty thinking.
See, I could almost justify it in my head, because this phenomena has been around because it's a pocket universe and everything from the beginning of the Earth to the end of the Earth, that all other ghost reportings is just crap, and they're just making stuff up based off of those symptoms.
I don't think that. I can believe,
because there's a lot of times, like I've watched Ghost Hunters, the sci-fi series, before they started saying everything was haunted, and there was a lot of times they would go in and say, "There's no evidence of anything
I think
here."
a lot lesser of you for even watching that show. I know you don't believe in it, but
No.
I'm more inclined to think that of all the ghost sightings and things that we have that happen, there are a wider range of possibilities. I mean, I do believe that some of them could be aliens, at least in confines of the Doctor Who universe. I do believe that some of them could be, to borrow a Dark Tower Stephen King thing, a thinny, where maybe there's just a place where the fabric of that reality is worn a little thin and something else is bleeding through. That's fine for me. It doesn't have to be
okay, but
a
address that in the
multiverse.
story.
Yeah,
That's the
mention
point.
it.
Well,
That's my point.
But
is
none
left.
of that was present
Yeah,
here. This was
it's
about
left.
the pocket universe.
It's a hole. It's a hole in that story.
I don't think so.
They don't reference any other ghosts.
Yeah.
Because
hauntings.
But that's just it.
Elsewhere.
He does in the manner that he shows up with the flippant Ghostbusters remark, because he's prepared. He's seen all this other stuff
absolutely.
off camera, but he's seen all this other stuff, prepared to go,
Agreed.
This is this. But it wasn't. It was something different, and that was what perplexed and puzzled
But
him.
my point is, they put all of the same tropes in to make you, to string you along, so you believe that there might be a ghost here, and then not address
because
the reason why they're there.
But
because they're in all other ghost stories as well.
Right, but I mean,
so
if they
why is it just coincidental that all of them are?
Sure. If they created a whole new series
You'll never convince me.
No, if they'd created a whole new sequence of things that happened, like a hot spot in the house instead of, you'd have been going, what? That's not a good... I mean, the whole premise would fall apart.
No.
It has to be set up as a ghost story.
The point is, if you're going to put them in there to make the point, you got to explain them away. Just like they did a good job of explaining everything else away. Don't leave some of those empty. Don't leave some of those holes. That's my only problem with it. Don't just throw them in there,
So
throw them in there to
a-
make you believe it,
a-
and then don't explain
A
what's going
circular
on.
cold spot that happens to be about the same size as the circular portal that shows up and does move throughout the house, because at one point it's up on the stairwell, at one point it's in the doorway, so it can
it's the
move.
well.
It doesn't always appear in the same spot. It doesn't make sense that would the reason for the cold would be that atmospheric pressure change when the two universes do come in contact with.
Yeah, and you're a great storyteller because you came up with that. But,
Because-
but the story was not.
I just-
conveyed
I
here.
just- it was
I'm
just
sorry.
implied.
No,
I just-
no,
yeah.
it was not implied. It was not
Okay.
implied well enough.
That was just me then, I guess. But
I like the story. This is my least favorite of the season. I liked the story. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was good. It was a
Of
great
the season
explanation.
overall or of
series
season B?
7B. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. This is a separate season to me. I don't care. It totally feels like a separate season. But
so you liked
Series
this one
7B.
better than you liked the Android in the Old West.
I don't know. I'm not comparing it to that. I'm comparing it to these stories since we've returned from the Christmas special on.
Okay.
This is my least favorite of all those. So
See, I almost still count Christmas special separate. Because it's not the same Clara. So it's,
yeah, but I still count it as a Clara story, even though Silent Dawn.
Silent-
But it was
see,
still
but
that
then
was
you have
more
to
of a
count
pawn.
that-
That was a pawn story.
I mean, we're going to go back to that too. I mean,
if we're
clearly
going
that's
to
gonna
split
be-
the season up the way it's split up, you've got to go pawns, post pawns.
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
kind of the way
divider.
I'm looking at it. And so, especially since Vastra and Jenny and all them are going to return again as well. So, I thought that Doug Ray Scott did a great job. I thought
Jessica Raine?
Jessica Raine did a fantastic job. I couldn't believe it was something in the back of my mind was going, who is this guy? What have I seen him in? I didn't realize until I got most of the way through this. It's the bad guy in Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah.
A completely different character. So
Yeah.
that was very convincing.
And had things gone slightly different, he would have been Wolverine.
Oh, is that right?
He was unavailable to. He was cast as Wolverine in the X-Men movie and was unavailable because of Mission Impossible 2.
He might have been better.
I don't think I could see him as Wolverine.
I
But then
like.
just went,
I like Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant.
He would have been a great Wolverine.
No, he would not have. Don't even.
He would have been the best Wolverine ever.
I like Hugh Jackman. I yeah, Hugh Grant might have been better. Anyway, so yeah, it was a fine episode. Everybody's raving over it, and I can't see why. Again, I was a little built up on the fact they were talking about how creepy and scary it was going to be.
See, I didn't pay
and
any attention to that.
It wasn't creepy. It wasn't scary at all. Even when we get to the Pocket Universe, which I thought was cool, that was visually cool. When we get there, that wasn't scary or creepy. I mean, even when the thing was chasing him, it was just
I
another
didn't think it
alien
was
chasing
scary.
you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it boiled down
Instead
to.
of running through quarters, you're running through trees.
I thought it was clever that she brought the house in as a visual point for the Doctor.
That was-
to
yeah,
find a
that
way.
was very, very cool.
That was very cool. I love the name drop. I love the here's I'm getting to my other point that doesn't work. I like the Eye of Harmony and the Metabilius 3 reference because you get the impression that the big long cord that's running to the TARDIS is hooked to the Eye of Harmony, and the device on the end is using it. And then I got the impression the little crystal on the skull cap was the crystal for Metabilis 3. All right, so those two in tangent work for me. I don't have a problem with that. But Clara, when the Doctor's left behind, Clara runs out of the house. She finally convinces the TARDIS to let her in to go rescue the Doctor. Now, aside from the fact that she's never flown the TARDIS before, I don't believe that maybe she was even flying the TARDIS. The TARDIS was really flying itself. Okay,
yeah.
Which I wish that was a little more clear, but I'm going to let that go. The cord should still have been attached to the Eye of Harmony, so that what's her name? Emma's doing in the house, keeping the connection on the portal open, because it's clearly still connecting it open, and that's how the TARDIS comes back through at the end. Where did this umbilical cord go?
I thought that at first too, but then realized that they
didn't show
once specified or showed
up to the
that
TARDIS.
umbilical
Yes, it
was,
did.
No, it did
oh
not.
my gosh,
No,
go
no.
back and watch it. It's running through the house. It goes up the side and into the side of the TARDIS. It's completely connected.
I never saw it connected to the TARDIS.
Yes, it is. You go back and watch it. It is connected to the
Okay,
TARDIS.
well, if that's true, then I may have huge problems.
Yeah, it is connected. I've seen it twice now, so I can guarantee that it is connected to the TARDIS. So
I'll go back and watch
that's
it again
another
looking for
big
that.
gaping hole there for me.
Yeah,
And
because
now,
if that's true, then you've taken the
Exactly.
generator for your wormhole away.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it doesn't
exactly.
work anymore.
And then it comes back through the portal that you're holding open. I mean, it's just... Now, I like the fact that it materialized in the house. I like the fact that the TARDIS did team with Clara to go
exactly.
get it.
You
That's
had
fine.
you had to have that,
I don't have a
otherwise, because if the
problem with
TARDIS
that.
rescued him and
But
came back, why
you've
is she
got
holding
those-
this portal?
You got that
open?
little
So-
piece, and and I love the fact that the Doctor grabs onto the outside and rides into the. Luckily, it's not very long because clearly that could kill you.
Or they didn't actually go into the vortex
Yeah,
either.
exactly. They weren't.
That's how that.
Well, coming back through, they weren't in the vortex. Getting there, they were.
Yeah.
Getting there went
Yes.
through the door vortex.
Yes.
Coming back was through the portal. And I love the fact that he comes around the corner and they do the little high five. That was
The
neat.
high five
Such
was
a nice
awesome.
little
Yeah.
touch. I've got. Granted, what the issues I have with it are nitpicky, but on the flip side, that was enough of it to be a deal breaker for it to not be as good of episode as I want it to be, and not nearly as good as any of the episodes we've seen so far.
Huh.
So. I like the connection that the traveler, and I can't remember her name, was
They're great.
great.
Yeah.
That was neat. I really
That
liked
was neat, and that really
blood
sold
connection.
the end, because I was really thinking there was this horrible it that was waiting to piggyback its way back with the Doctor, and that that it was this monster, until he put 2 and 2 together and came up with 5,
yes.
and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah, I love that.
I
love
so
that.
that was so well done, and the fact that they were willing to go back and talk the TARDIS into going back. I liked all the bits with the TARDIS and Clara interacting, or her interacting with herself, which was kind of a nice little. Of all the billions of people in my database, this is the one that would work the best. It was a nice little slam there, but
Sort of makes me wonder about some of the theories about the Clara and the TARDIS, and I don't think I believe this, but there's one floating out there that Clara is the TARDIS, and
I don't believe that.
I don't
go
believe that
far.
either.
But I think that sort of works into the.
I have a theory, and I think I'm going to do this the same way that we did our thoughts on who the child in the astronaut suit was. I think I'm going to write it down and seal it in an envelope and wait.
Yeah, just say it.
Just say it.
I don't want to spoil it.
I did, and it didn't destroy anybody. So.
Yeah.
I think I'm right, though.
I was right.
You thought you were right last time, too.
Oh, that's true.
And you weren't.
All right. So, okay, spoilers ahead. If you don't want to know, tune out. The reason that the TARDIS doesn't like Clara is because Clara is what caused the TARDIS to explode. I think Stephen Moffat has given us, just like he did with River Song, where we met her at the end of the story. He's a very big one for doing these and turning them on the air. I think his whole plot development since he's become showrunner is to show us the end of the story. The crack, the destruction of the universe, the explosion of the TARDIS. That's all the end. And we're now getting around to the back end of it to see how it all started. And I think that's why the TARDIS doesn't like her. I think that explains, in some ways, how Clara could be the girl twice dead, is that she was splintered by this explosion, a la City of Death, and can continue to show up and be the same person with some of the same, maybe not memories, but empathic imprints, and continue to die in these alternate versions of herself. And that somehow all of that's going to have to tie back in, and the Doctor's going to have to fix that or stop it. Because again, we fixed the explosion, but we never solved it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that to me, I know that sounds like, oh my God, I can't believe you're still dragging that up. I am, because it's a huge plot hole, and Moffat doesn't do plot holes. He really has nice little neat bows on all of his stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big one that's still left out there gaping for me.
I'd buy that. I see that as a possibility. I think that same logic can be applied to the fact that Clara is the TARDIS, and that by the TARDIS exploding, she's been splintered throughout time as well. So I think that logic still applies.
Yeah,
there.
but the TARDIS...
I don't think it's as likely.
The TARDIS wouldn't hate on herself if that was the issue. And she really doesn't like Clara. Even though it's all been
unless the
just...
TARDIS doesn't recognize what has happened. So there's that weird Marty kissing his mom feeling. You know what I mean? It's just there's that weird that weird conflict. You got two positives that are driving each other away.
It could be.
Can't figure out
Well,
why.
and I don't know why I have this very, very strong impression the TARDIS doesn't like Clara. Because let's be honest, what have we got? We've got a blue box. It has no personality. It has no emotion. It's not. It's an inanimate object.
All the nice references in this to the fact that it's not just an inanimate object.
This
episode,
this one in
specifically.
particular. Well, I mean, we all know the TARDIS is telepathic and alive and all of that. But I mean, realistically, all of the shots that we've seen of Clara with the box, it's just a box. There's never been anything looming or, none of the director's shots have made it appear ominous. It's just the box. So I don't know why I have this very strong psychic, if you will, impression that they're really at odds about it, other than the one line, I don't think this thing likes me, which is in and of itself, it's very innocent. But this episode all of a sudden really kind of drove home when the Doctor is chastising the TARDIS. Did you say something mean? Are you being bad? Right. I mean, he really, they're kind of pushing that along in that direction. And I can't help but wonder, okay, what is the reason for this? Beyond the impossible girl. Why is she the impossible girl? And I think there's more to it there than that. Because the TARDIS didn't react this weird when Amy was pregnant, not pregnant, pregnant, not pregnant. And that to me was a big... kind of a big deal for her. So
that's true.
That's my 2 cents.
I think I land in between the two of you. I found it a very enjoyable episode. Maybe not as high of a high as Sean is at, and not as low of a low as Glenn, because I didn't even realize the umbilical cord thing until you mentioned it. But I also like the character development and the growth of the Clara story without distracting from the main story. While the disjointed, we're going to go run out in the TARDIS and travel back in time and go forward. It felt very disjointed until I realized what they were doing, and then I was fine with it. And enjoyable, not the best, not the worst.
Well, that was a fun way of doing it, too, is, that we're going to go through all of these... We're staying in the same spot, but just traveling in time, and when are we going? Everyone, or whatever the line is, that he's really kind of within the confines of that house.
And the Doctor almost seems to constantly be surprised and impressed by Clara.
Yeah.
And I like the chemistry that they're developing. And
I think even more impressive the fact that this is the first episode they filmed.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, this was the first one that she was actually, Clara and...
Plugged into the TARDIS. That's the line going out there. And then I think they widen out to it, so see it goes down.
Yep.
And they show it running around the house. It's completely connected
to the TARDIS. It's completely connected to the TARDIS.
There's no getting past that. It's completely connected to the TARDIS.
I wonder how that works. Well, I mean...
It doesn't.
For that matter, there's also the bit that, and Earmuffs Keith, the blue crystal, he shouldn't have anymore.
That's true.
Nobody wanted to talk about that at all, but I was willing to give that up just because, cool, name drop. That was
Maybe he's gone back to metaphysics.
He must have gone back at some point. I really thought when he said that maybe that was going to be the thing in the shadow behind that was chasing the astronaut. I really thought that's where they were going to go with
around
that.
On when he's in that,
and so I was like, "Are we gonna?"
In that scene,
and then it wasn't, but because that would have been really cool. The ending wouldn't have worked then, but
no,
you would have had to really rework it, but
not nearly as well as it did.
Yeah, so
all right, well,
I'll go back and watch it again and see if I temper my thoughts.
Well, if you like it, you like it. I certainly can't put you down for that, but it just it didn't hit me like it did you.
I just like I said, maybe it's because my expectations were so off.
But I think if it had been wrapped up a little nicer in a bow, I might have had less problems with it. But there were two very glaringly problems with it, and kind of ruined it.
And the end again did feel rather rushed. I thought.
I think
it was better explained.
I didn't think it was rushed,
but I felt it was very.
It was just a hold on. Yeah, that's the problem. Is I don't think these endings feel rushed. I think rushed is the wrong word.
Rushed
you keep
probably is the
saying that
wrong
every
word.
week, but they're leaving them in such a way. It's bam, this is the end. That's what it is, and it's like okay, the next 10 minutes is up to you. It's your interpretation of where we
Yeah.
went from here. You know, you use your imagination, but not necessarily for the plot. That it's not a detriment to the plot. It's like okay, we know something happened next. So,
Well, if the episode was a full 60 minutes and you had an hour to tell these stories, would that necessarily make them better? I mean, we're going to say yes because
I don't
we
think
want
so.
more Who.
That's why I haven't had any problems with them at all, because of the fact with the way they're ending these, because it's a damn, that's the end. It's not a we rushed it on or we left you hanging type thing.
Who was it that
never been that
commented
pressing.
the epic nature of the movie of the week kind of feel? Who was it that said that in our feedback?
I don't remember.
Whoever said that, they commented that, is it just me or is the epic movie of the week feel kind of almost leaving us a little exhausted, you know?
Could be.
And maybe that's what it is.
I don't think so, but
maybe that's what it is. It's just that because we're everything's set up to feel like a movie, and then all of a sudden it ends, and you still have that 40 minutes that would traditionally be left over for, your climax. You're kind of going, huh? Or maybe it's just that you're.
These have all been the right amount of length.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just used to my Who being structured slightly different, or just my television in general being structured slightly different.
What I like about them is that for the last 4 episodes, and even the Snowman was like this, although the Snowman had some of these issues with it, they're all paced so well. I never get bored with conversation, which that happened a lot in Russell T. Davis, and I'm noticing that as I go back and watch. It's not as bad in
the pacing
the
is a
Moffat
lot
era,
better in them,
but there are still moments of okay, we got a lot of talking going on here. We got a lot of
That's exposition moments.
a lot of exposition. So this, at least these last 5 episodes now, have been just move along and very little exposition and
Exposition.
And so that's what I've enjoyed about season 7B, especially, is the fact that I think everything's paced out real well. So, and we don't have to have 3 minutes of talking at the end to let you know how we finished this. Who cares? It's done. We know how it finished. All right, let's move on to the comic book. We're going to move into a little bit of Third Doctor now. Prisoners of Time, issue number 3. Got a synopsis, or
I don't have a
let's
synopsis.
just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Let's just jump into it.
Liz Shaw, yay!
Yeah, and Sarah Jane at the same time.
Yeah, wait. That was a little odd. To be quite honest with you, as I read the first several pages of this, I went, Sarah can't be here with Joe. This isn't working. Wait, they run into each other later in Sarah Jane Smith, and they talk about that they didn't know each other. And then I went, oh, this is Liz. So good job whoever wrote this and set this up well enough that I was getting Liz confused with.
He even says, hello, Liz.
Yeah,
I know.
that's the first page
I know.
line.
And a great entrance. Look at
Oh,
that.
and awesome entrance.
I'll tell you what, again, we dogged on the art in the first book, and the art has been stellar since then.
Yeah.
So I think they must have been listening.
Well, this is. I went back and checked just out of curiosity. This is art by Mike Collins, who's not the same gentleman who did issue 2, nor are they each issue so far has been different.
I can tell.
And I kind of thought that. Now I
This
liked,
is more 70s Marvel look.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, very much so. And I liked the artwork in this, although I didn't like it as much as I did in 2.
The first one is more Lee-Field looking. The second one is more 70s, 80s DC. This is very 70s Marvel look. Artwork. The artwork's fantastic. Yay, we got the brig. Although it's...
At the beginning, it's not...
It's bizarre. It's the big
It's
brig
Bizarro
so
brig.
out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bizarro brig. It's almost Inferno brig, although even a little more jarring than that, because I mean he's just violent,
I loved
just
his,
violent.
You heard me. I want the Tower of London sealed off and flooded top to bottom
The Whomobile
Yes.
comes back.
as a hovercraft, which
That makes the Whomobile makes so much more sense.
yeah,
now.
doesn't it? That really justifies
You
it
say
for
has
me.
a hovercraft. I'm now led to believe that it's always been a hovercraft and does both land and air. Land and sea,
like I
so,
said, it really fixes the Whomobile a lot in my head as to why this ridiculous vehicle
exactly.
exists. Oh, because it goes on water. Okay.
And then Slugs with Legs and Jabba the Hutt shows up.
Yeah. Once they kind of get to... Because the idea and the setup of this, I thought, was really cool. And we even get Bessie, too.
Yeah, Bessie's
You
in
see Bessie
here.
there?
Yeah.
And we get the Third Doctor doing what the Third Doctor does best, which is, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to whip something together, which
It's
is
very James Bondy, which
you
is in
know.
the vein of
And then I'm going to go try to negotiate
yeah. I mean, it's
find the peaceful solution.
it's so much there. But really, once the Brigadier is released from control of these whatever these are, what does he call them? Remaraxian.
Rimaraxian.
Yeah.
Once the brig is released from the Remaraxian's control, with his little gun that goes wee 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 wee, and then the brig
It looks like a tuning fork.
it looks like a tuning fork, and then the brig pukes it up.
Yeah.
That's honestly that's kind of when the story itself starts to
Yeah,
kind of
I
go.
agree.
It starts to flag there, and I didn't know why, and I went back and reread it, and it was still just. I think the problem is that the Remaraxians,
Well, they don't.
they're not threatening.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
don't feel threatening at all.
They don't
Yeah,
fully
that's
explain
exactly right.
how they got the world or the entire Earth to be raining all at
Right,
once.
right.
How they caused this entire global
Right.
sensation.
Right.
The idea of the global sensation, I think, is
Makes
cool. That
sense, yeah.
they're trying to make it for
Habitable for them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the resolution of this.
Nixon's going to nuke them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so we go out, and this again, this should be, and it's again a very Third Doctor setting. Okay, we've got units, so where we go, let's go to this abandoned oil rig. Okay, yeah, cool.
Right.
I mean, that's just something you would expect to see in the Third Doctor's era. So we take the hovercraft and we go out there and we're running through the corridors, and I can visualize this. I can really get into this. But we get there, and okay, so we've got these big pink-haired slug people with Jabba the Hutt, and we're changing the climate of the Earth to make it more habitable for us. And Nixon threatens to nuke them, and there's an obnoxious CIA guy who, again, that's a very Third Doctor
Very
trope.
clause of access.
Yeah.
I mean, because the Third Doctor was very much embroiled in the Ministry of Silly Walks kind of things. That we always had some cabinet official who was causing problems. So we've got this obnoxious CIA guy here who's saying, "Oh, by the way, Nixon's going to launch nukes and kill everybody," and the aliens are like, "Oh, okay,
Well,
Okay,
we'll
we'll
see you.
leave.
see you later," and they bug out.
They weren't bugs; they were aquatic sea creatures.
They were sea bugs. They were like
There's no such thing as. Actually, that's not true.
they were like a water bug.
Did you know there are no insects in the sea that live beneath the sea? There are spiders. There are arachnids that live beneath the sea.
No,
There-
plankton and all that doesn't count as a.
That's not. That's
They're
not
not
an insect.
Insect,
There
that's
are no
right.
insectoids.
I didn't know that.
in the sea, and it's because of the way plants grow in underwater. It's all from photosynthesis. Has nothing to do with pollination. Insects require the aspects of pollination.
So what about that
You know
sea
where I learned
spider
that?
they found that
QI.
looks? Thanks for bringing us back around. What about that sea spider they found that looks like the facehugger?
It's a spider.
Spiders are not
I'm not
insects.
saying
Spiders
bugs.
aren't really.
I'm
No,
saying
they're arachnids.
insects. Yeah, spiders are arachnids.
That's why it's called arachnophobia.
Scorpions are arachnids.
Because
I
there's
don't
8
think I knew
legs.
that.
Yeah,
Quite
spiders
honestly.
are not insects; they are arachnids.
I did not know that. Okay.
So there you
Spiders
go.
are sick.
Yes,
Or,
and there
spiders
are
are
sea
8.
spiders. There are spiders under the sea. There are arachnids. under the sea.
Insects are 6. That's the
Yes.
difference?
Well, that's one of the
that's one of
differences.
them.
That's
There's
the
more
easiest
to
way
it.
to spot
Oh,
it.
the thorax and the segmented
Right.
body and
They're
that kind of stuff.
segmented
Yeah.
bodies. They have 3 segmented bodies as opposed to arachnids, which usually have 2.
Maybe I did know that. And I just forgot. I don't know.
So
Huh.
There you
okay.
go.
Well, I'm going to say I learned
Anyway.
something today. So the sea insects
Anything to
bug
distract
out
from-
and just they don't want to get nuked, so they leave.
And then they're conveniently able to stop the nukes in time.
Yeah.
And the
why
grand
they-
ending of this, we finally get to see the companions being taken away.
Yes.
By
We don't know.
a guy in a
But
well.
somebody with a vortex meter.
Do we want to break this down like we do the thing? If you zoom in on
you think
the
that's Jack?
thing, it almost looks like a Cyberman underneath that cloak he's wearing.
Yeah, he's got like the chest plate.
He's kind of got that chest plate going
Maybe
on.
so.
But he's wearing, he's got a human arm
And a vortex manipulator.
and a vortex
He's
manipulator.
got Jack's vortex.
It looks definitely like Jack's
I think
vortex
it's
manipulator.
Jack's. I think it's Jack. I think this is just some sort of suit that helps him travel because he's got boots on. I mean, I don't think.
I think
it's not a
Omega.
It's definitely not. It might be a cyborg, but it's definitely not Cyberman. Definitely not a Cyberman.
Maybe it's the face of Bo.
Maybe his
Maybe he's already lost his
Maybe-
body.
oh, his
It's
lost
all-
bodies are
All
falling
that's
apart.
left is his head.
All that's left is
Okay.
his head
and an arm.
and an arm and some fingers.
With a vortex manipulator. So, yeah.
I guess 2 arms.
I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. And this is going to be the same thing for this next story. Is I love the Third Doctor on screen.
Elsewhere,
I never can find myself liking... You reviewed that book. That it fell flat.
Wasn't quite there.
This particular episode falls flat. The audio that we're going to review next falls flat. The poor Third Doctor is not represented well in the EU.
I think part of it is just it's hard to capture John Pertwee's performance.
I suppose that's probably true.
Because
he's so charismatic.
In this as well.
I mean, again, the artwork I thought was good. I thought they did a good job capturing his likeness. The writing for him, I thought his dialogue was fairly spot on. I mean, I could hear Pertwee delivering these lines.
Yeah.
And the actions were there. And we get even a little bit of Venusian Aikido. But it just... The story just kind of fell apart for me, and I felt bad because I really, especially coming off the high of the 2, I really wanted to like this one.
Right.
And I mean, it's not that it's a bad story at all. It's still very enjoyable to read, but it just kind of the ending really falls apart.
Yeah.
But I do love this panel.
Agreed.
I love this panel at the entrance where he walks in out of the rain.
Yeah. That'd just be some great art to hang on the wall.
Yeah, that's a great comic panel there. And nothing's happening. That's the beauty of it. It's just him standing in the doorway with a lightning storm behind him. But so kudos there. Now, I do want to complain that we've been given this really awesome cover art with the Master on it, and there was no Master in the story.
But
that's been par for the course. The first one was
I know. I'm still upset.
First one was Daleks, or was it Cybermen on the first one?
No,
the second one was
Cybermen.
Okay, so
the first one was Cybermen.
That's what I thought.
What's 2 then?
And there were no Cybermen.
Was that Ice Warriors?
No,
and 2
I don't think it was.
2 was Ice Warrior.
Well, we actually
but there were Ice Warriors in that one. So that's another reason that the second one holds up so much better.
Maybe they're alternating with their covers.
They just the greatest villain?
Maybe the Cyberman on the first cover drops the hint that maybe that is a Cyberman, or maybe the Cybermen are behind
maybe it's the Master because
maybe it's the Master and the Cybermen
teaming up.
Well,
that's
but
never happened.
4.
I mean,
that's
actually yeah, that's actually in the issue.
Oh, I'll be done.
I don't know.
So there you go.
Just complaining.
I just can't trust the covers.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's move on because I think we've all kind of given our opinion on this. So,
Vengeance of the...
wait. Is it just me? Or does this look like... I think these covers are going to line up.
They are lining up.
I think because this is now the bottom part. I think this is going to be
goes underneath.
I
think you're right.
I think it's going to make one big mosaic picture when they're done.
That's cool.
I think you're right.
All right, you're forgiven a little bit. The little lines on the TARDIS appear to match up on the comics. So
very cool.
Okay.
Vengeance of the Stones. 2 RAF fighter jets are on a training flight over northeastern Scotland when one of them is plucked from the air and promptly disappears. Unit are called in, and the Doctor and Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart are soon on the scene. They enlist help from a local military officer, a young lieutenant by the name of Mike Yates. The Doctor discovers a link to the recumbent stone circles that are plentiful in this part of Scotland. The stones are thousands of years old and are soon revealed to hold a terrible secret. Then, Mike Yates disappears, abducted by an alien race that has a grievance with humanity. Their invention to harness the power of the stones in order to take their revenge. For the Doctor and the Brigadier, the race is now on to save their new friend Mike and the entire planet Earth.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't a blasé story, but it's my least favorite so far of the 3, including the first one. Even though I thought the first one was a little lackluster. I mean, it had great moments.
It's so hard to follow. And part of it is it's hard to follow up Fraser Hines.
Yeah, well, his performance. I'm kind of lukewarm on Richard Franklin, just like Chrissy had pointed out. I think it was Chrissy that said it. Because it's Mike, because it's Captain Yates, I don't feel as invested in the companion as I do with Susan or with Jamie. And so, while I thought he did a fine job narrating it, I don't think he got the inflection of the Doctor down at all. I thought he did the Brigadier pretty decent, or at least conveyed the character of the Brigadier. He sounds like an old Captain Mike Yates. He doesn't have that young, rejuvenated...
There were times where I thought the aliens was the Doctor.
Oh, really?
I thought the ape sounded more like the Doctor than Mike Yates did.
See, I didn't get that, but
just this couple of lines where I was like, wait, was that the Doctor saying that, or was that the alien?
This completely throws out Matt Smith's, well, now, or not Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor's line that he can't fly a plane.
Well,
because he flew a fighter jet in this story here. So
we've already not television stories
not the
to
same
prove
as
otherwise.
not the same as a jumbo jet.
yeah, you can fly one plane, you can fly them all.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
And so
Fly yes, land no.
Well, yeah, that is true. But
He wasn't trying to land the jumbo jet. He was trying not to land the jumbo jet.
right,
But,
right.
Yeah, it's interesting here. Now, I'm gonna throw this out there for the listeners. Is no, I didn't get my homework done. I haven't finished this yet, and I started it 5 times this week. No lie.
How far are you?
Still within the first 15 minutes.
Oh, gosh,
I can't. I don't know why I can't seem to get into it, and it's for all the same reasons that you guys have kind of pointed out. It's like, well, it's not that Mike's bad. He's kind of meh.
Yeah.
He's there. I kind of have, again, this is one of those, the synopses really, Vengeance of the Stones, is like, oh, it's another Stone Circle episode. And let's see, we've done Stonehenge in The Big Bang. We've done the other Stone Circle in Stones of Blood.
Well,
I'm really having trouble getting up for this thing.
The Stones as a vehicle in this isn't really that bad. The problem is the aliens are just kind of blasé, and there's really no reason for them other than to be the adversary, because ultimately what it comes down to is they're here trying to get information, and then when the Doctor sort of drops the ball drops the bomb on them that, hey, the rest of your civilization is gone, you're the last. And then they get all upset.
They weren't a threat until then.
And then suddenly they're not a threat, and so there's a reason to resolve this situation. Except for Unit comes in with guns blazing.
There was so much of this. If Unit hadn't have been there to interfere,
had not have been there, this thing would have resolved peacefully, and everything would have been fine. But then Unit steps in. But then there's no. But
then again, that's very Unit.
That's the problem, though. There's no justification for Unit's actions, and there's no justifications for the aliens' vengefulness. Because it's all culminated on itself. Because it just happens to be two sides at war, and that's the resolution. And the Doctor finally has to fix everything at the very end. Yeah. But at what cost?
I could kind of see
the genocide of this species, and that's what happens. And
I could kind of see the aliens as anger towards humanity, although not justified.
No,
was that 4,000 years ago they killed some of their crew. But they don't realize that it's
justified for the story. It's justified. Their motives are justified on both sides. Yes.
Well, but then Unit didn't need to come into that house guns blazing either.
Well,
if they wouldn't have done that, they wouldn't have had a problem.
Let's be honest. Unit never needs to go in anywhere guns blazing.
Look at it this way: you've got one of your men captured. That was their justification. There is at least a justification for the actions. The problem is there's no justification for the plot. Because when it comes down to it, it ends up being a fist fight between the Doctor and the main alien guy, Garland. And then, the resolution was kind of cool that how they were in that what do they call it?
It was like a vortex.
Yeah.
They described it as a vortex.
Because they're in this sub-universe, essentially. This stasis, this parallel stasis that they can the stones pretty much kind of like
can help you teleport.
Stones of blood. They puts them into a different stasis, and then they happen to the vortex. The passage is through the stone, and so when they're through there, the Doctor gets out. The stone pretty much turns back into a stone and kills the alien. Spoilers. There it is. That's
resolution.
That's the resolution. And so why? Why does this story even exist other than the fact that it's a little battle and then it's over? It's just it was really kind of lame. So
the story is rather I agree. What's cool about this?
I'm totally going to come back next week and love this.
Is the trappings and what it's set in of Mike's first adventure with units.
That's the problem. That's the problem I'm having getting into it.
It establishes itself
as story.
Its early, even third Doctor story.
Yeah.
Because at the very end, he pulls out his Venetian Akudo and says, I haven't used that in a long time. I have
to brush up on that.
Yeah. the Bessie references and all of these familiar trappings that we're used to. Even Benton's there.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool to see how Mike got inducted into units.
Right. Agreed.
That's the only reason to listen to this story.
Agreed.
There's no other reason. That's really all I have to
That's
say.
the other thing.
And see again, maybe that's my failing as a fan because I'm so much less familiar with
it almost
Yates
makes me like
as I am
Yates
Benson
more.
that I don't feel that investment in him as a character.
Here's where I think that Richard Franklin probably struggled a little bit is when you've got Carol Ann Ford reading, there's only 2 familiar characters that she has to read for.
Yes.
When you've got Fraser Hines reading, there's only 3 familiar characters that you have to read for. Suddenly, when you introduce this story, you've got Mike, you've got Benton, you've got the Brigadier.
Luckily,
you've
Benton's
got the
not in
Doctor.
it too
He's
much.
not in it much.
He doesn't
but
have a lot of lines.
You've got
the unit family.
You've got a unit family. Plus, you've got some peripheral characters that are,
Yeah.
I thought felt added more so than what we had in the small group of characters that we had in the last.
This
So I think
is a bigger
He's
scope.
having to stretch it around, and I think that lends to the fact that he didn't try to emulate the Doctor. He didn't try to emulate the Brigadier. He just read the lines as though it was a story, as though he was reading a story. And I think that's to his credit that he did that, because I think had you tried to do all of the different characters,
and if you can't,
really,
if you tried and can't,
exactly,
Yeah.
then it
That's-
really would have been a failure.
Yeah.
So. Fortunately, they didn't go that route with this story, and I think that saved it a little bit.
And he does a little better job with the Brig in the short lines.
Yes,
when it's especially in the beginning, the Brig has a lot of one-word responses.
Agreed.
And he sounds like the Brig then, but then when he goes into a sentence, not so much.
Does he say 5 rounds rapid at any point?
No?
I'll tell you.
Doesn't say splendid chaps.
The
all
other
of them
thing
either.
that I have a problem with Mike Yates is knowing where his character goes. It's really hard to sympathize with him in any.
I've seen that one.
Have you seen that one?
That was Planet. Or
Oh yeah, you're right. Invasion of the Dinosaurs. You're
So
right,
where
never mind.
that character eventually goes, it's such a bittersweet. You know, you look back at the episodes before that, you look at him in a different light. You look at Yates in a different light.
Yeah.
So it's unfair to the character because of where it went. And when you haven't seen some of these, or you're introduced to Mike Yates, you're introduced to the first story of his character essentially, then that kind of falls down as well.
You know where he's going.
That was kind of a failure. So it was probably the wrong choice. I mean, I'm sure it was because Richard Franklin was available. I'm sure is what it boiled down to. But unfortunately, I just think
Well,
that
it
was
becomes a
miss.
far
I
different
think it was a
story
miss.
if it's not him reading it. Because then the focus, I mean, if you brought in Katie Manning to read
Well,
as
you
Joe
just have
Grant,
to do a completely different story.
You do a completely different story because it's
Exactly.
not set in the early days of the Doctor and whatnot.
But
So.
I think they probably lined people up before they started writing the
Oh,
stories.
probably, yeah.
So I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
boiled down to. Is I'm sure he was available, and so they wrote the story around.
I'm sure you were right.
Captain Yates. All right, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
All right, next up on the schedule for Friday Night Who, we've got The Edge of Destruction next week with William Hartnell on Friday, which is the first TARDIS-based episode, which is appropriate then because next week we'll be reviewing Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. So we thought that was kind of clever, and it's a lot shorter than the other Journey to the Center of the TARDIS episode, which we had so far, which is The Invasion of Time. So,
Although we could have just watched the last 2 episodes of
no,
Invasion
not
of
the
Time.
same. Just the Sontaran bits.
Yeah, well, because I mean, it really is 2 separate stories.
It really is. But so we're doing that. Also next week we'll be covering Doctor Who Revisited, the 3rd installment, all about John Pertwee. So make sure that you have acquired a copy of that or seen it on BBC America. And we'll be giving our 50th anniversary discussion of the 3rd Doctor era. So we'll be going all about John Pertwee. And his time frame. And again, there's still time. You got to jump in on Facebook and vote on the poll for what was the most quote-unquote iconic or definitive John Pertwee episode of his era, so that we can discuss that.
I haven't voted.
You have not voted
I
yet.
have not voted.
I noticed. I'm the only person that has voted.
Oh, so it was real obvious that I had voted.
Yeah, I'm the only person that has voted thus far.
All right, I'll go vote for everybody. Hang on.
So that's next week. The following week we'll be doing Enlightenment with Peter Davidson, which is, again, one that we've already reviewed, in order to kind of get into the other stuff we'll be doing. And then that will start in May, our 4th Doctor retrospectives, and we're going to cover the IDW comic book that week, along with the Crimson Horror for the new Who. So that'll be out then. And then Revenge of the Cybermen the following week.
Which we have not reviewed before.
Which we have not reviewed, and we'll be pairing that up with Nightmare in Silver. So we'll kind of do a Cybermen Archive 3.
Okay.
And Keith will be happy.
Yay. Don't forget, we got to get Babel Spear in there somehow, too. So.
What's Babel Spear?
The next
Destiny.
Oh, yeah, that's later in May.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well,
so
any other housekeeping?
I don't think so.
No. That's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone.
Be seeing you.
There's something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! If there's something weird and it don't look good, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.